Live local San Diego sports talk, rolling toward Gwyn and Chris, which will be Scraby and Gwyn today. Chris Ello on his cruise. He's cruising. And as he said to me, Annie, as he was walking into the studio yesterday, hey, I'm leaving you a 3.5 game lead. Don't screw it up. So far, so good for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, he was in the press box, Chris Ello was last night, and sitting next to Sammy and talking to him about the strikeout thing for Arraez. And, you know, got to watch the first at bat for Arraez, and he didn't strike out. And it's like, oh, okay, the streak lives on. And then he struck out. And then I think Chris Ello left. And said, you know what? This can't be good.
Contact only.
Yeah. Can't be good. Can't be a good sign.
Well, it was a good sign for the Padres last night. Another big win for San Diego. Another affirming win for San Diego. We'll be talking about it all as the show continues here today, including in our first couple of segments. Padres Deep Dive Hour is coming up at 11 a.m., headlined by our friend, recurring guest Dylan from the Letters to AJ Substack. He'll be joining us right at the top of the hour, next hour at 11 a.m., and we'll talk about everything going on with your Friars and the hunt for October, which looks mighty good. Mm-hmm. Mighty good now.
They're in a good spot, man. I mean, like they really are. Getting that win against a good Astros team yesterday, that's a good lineup. Yu Darvish, obviously, we'll talk about him and how well he did. But they're in a good spot. And then the Diamondbacks losing yesterday.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. In Colorado against
Colorado,
the
Rockies. All the mean things I've said about you. Dinger come back. Any kind of fool could see that we were wrong and we just can't live without you, man, especially for the next couple of days. And in fact, continuing on into the weekend when the Rockies take on the Dodgers. Dinger come back.
Yes.
We need all the love we can get from you over the last 2 weeks of the season.
Absolutely. And I mean, for the Diamondbacks, so I think they were 2-0 in the first or second or something like that. And it was like, these are the Diamondbacks. We've talked about it for months now, how they just put up runs, right? They lead the major leagues in runs produced. But no, they they got stumped there. Looked like a bullpen game for Colorado. And then an error. They had a very costly error in that ninth inning, and the Rockies walked it off. And that is the sort of thing that you cannot do when you are in a playoff pennant wild card seeding race.
Well, I was up in the stands watching the game and saw the score, and so I put the Rocky game on my phone.
Yeah.
And it was just one of these classic 21st century things where it wasn't quite clicking in, so the video kept buffering. Yeah. So it was like I had a purple guy at the plate, and then it buffered, and then the next thing it buffered to was that guy with a headset on talking on the postgame show.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I'm like, Rockies won.
Yes. You knew. The game didn't keep going, so something happened that helped the Padres out there. And the Padres helped themselves out, too, with the win that they got. And Jerkson Profar 4 for 4 last night, had that big home run. Jackson Merrill with the home run. Loved seeing, I think, was it Manny Machado and Profar that got it started with the doubles.
Yes.
So, a good overall game, and I know we'll get into all the specifics, but help themselves out at a time when this is, like I said, a good Astros team, an Astros team that also needs to win for their own standings.
Yeah, that's true. They're not done, right? But they've got a, let's see, did Seattle win last night? Is it a 3.5 game lead now or a 4.5? They came in with a 4.5 game lead in the American League West, and it is 4. Seattle didn't play. So, just like we feel about the Padres' chances to hold off the Braves.
Yeah.
4.5 at this point in the year. It's pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. Like that's pretty hard to do without blowing it yourself, without losing all your games.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like there, you could kind of lose 1 or 2 here or there, and in terms of the seeding, that could get kind of close for next week. But in terms of where the Braves are at, it's getting more dire for them as the days tick by.
It is. Just talking about the status of the race, Arizona losing yesterday, it's fascinating to me. The Diamondbacks were just as hot as the Padres.
Yeah.
And then both teams cooled off a little bit. But the Padres have heated back up a little bit, while the Diamondbacks have continued to stumble along, losing a game in Colorado. I'm sure there's people on Arizona Sports Talk Radio right now let's be honest, talking about the Suns starting lineup or the Cardinals and their big win over the Rams. They're probably not even talking about the Diamondbacks right now. But in the one segment that they allow themselves to, they're going to really rue this game because, hey, that's one of the things they haven't done all year is lose to the Rockies. They've beaten up on the Rockies. Right. The reason that the NL West is the shape it's in is because the Padres lost to the Rockies 8 times, and I believe that was only the 4th time all year that Arizona, I can look it up, but I believe that was the 4th time all year that they lost to Colorado. But now more opportunities continue, and what's interesting now is, given what's happened, San Diego now 2.5 games clear to host the wild card round.
It's theirs to. I mean, look, it's theirs to lose, and I think I don't think they're going to lose it. I think the Padres are going to hold on to this one, and it's baseball. Anything can happen, and the fact that they're playing against the Dodgers and against the Diamondbacks next week, I think does kind of make it spicy, right? Make it interesting, because if they do lose 1 or 2 and the Diamondbacks win 1 or 2, it could be pretty close, and determining it next week is a possibility. But to get that extra win last night, I think really helped them out, gave them a little bit of an extra cushion that I think they can kind of ride with now.
The Padres are 2.5 up on Arizona. Arizona's only a game up on the Mets.
Yeah.
And they're only 2 games up on the Braves. Arizona, all of a sudden, is the team that we were before, worrying about the cut line, worrying about actually making the playoffs. And something I've been talking about for weeks is starting to manifest. The Padres this weekend are going to play the White Sox while Arizona plays Milwaukee. If San Diego can hold their line in the sand right now, get to the weekend and move it a little bit further, they can clinch 4th place before they get to Arizona.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting. Right, exactly. And that's a real possibility for them. I think that's a real possibility for the Padres. And then, you kind of wonder, will that, because the 4th place plays a 5th spot, right?
Correct.
Will that be the Mets? Will that be the
Mets?
Diamondbacks? Like, we keep thinking it's the Diamondbacks, but it might not be.
It could easily be the Mets.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing, is the Mets are getting to the point where they could be the team that comes back here and plays in the wild card series. They've been that hot.
And how interesting of a storyline would that be? I mean, it's interesting with the Diamondbacks because it would be 6 in a row. But with the Mets, hey, that was where the Padres were in 2022, except they were in New York.
Yeah. Rematch, and this time we'd be the favored team.
Yeah.
There would be a lot of parallels to it. No Buck Showalter anymore.
Sure.
To tick around Joe's ear or anything like that. But to be honest, to be perfectly honest, I like the Diamondbacks more as a matchup for San Diego. I like an Arizona team that, sure, they can put a zillion runs on the board against average or below average pitching. The Padres have above average to excellent pitching. Get to September, the thing that usually shrinks is a team's offensive output. Because they're facing top-line pitching all the time, the thing that comes through is situational hitting, great defense, a great bullpen that can lock you down. And Arizona is lacking in 2 of those 3 categories. They don't have a great bullpen that can lock you down. They still have a rotating door at closer. Sewald's now on the injured list after having already blown his job. And their starting rotation is beset by injury and is not exactly clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, the postseason, you got to have the pitching, and that is where these moves that the Padres made at the deadline could really, I mean, it's been helping them since they made them, but the starting rotation now has gone a turn with them all looking excellent. 6 innings, 5 innings, scoreless innings, 1 run, whatever it was. I mean, they've done a great job. The bullpen also clicking. So that's a dangerous team in terms of, if you don't get your runs in, you're going to get locked out. You're going to get shut out by this bullpen. And this starting rotation isn't really letting any up either. So it's really going to be, as we know, baseball changes so much week to week, but it's really going to be a fascinating race here toward the end. And I see in the chat, Trendwave TV, we don't want to clinch 4th. We want to catch the Dodgers. Totally get it. And I think if it shrinks more by the time they get to LA, that's an impossibility. But right now the Dodgers are winning. So until the Dodgers lose, it's a little out of reach.
Well, Trendwave TV, we didn't want to start the show being down in the dumps, okay? Because if you're trying to chase down LA, I told you yesterday, they had to lose in Atlanta last night. This was such an important game to the specific idea of the Padres overtaking the Dodgers and winning the National League West. It was to kick that lead from 3.5 down to 2.5 before LA gets to enjoy the weakest schedule in all of Major League Baseball the rest of the way, as they now travel to Miami for 3 games and then come home, and of course they take on us, but then they wrap up with they've got the Rockies twice somewhere in there. I screwed it up, but I know they go to Florida and then they go to Colorado and then us and then Colorado.
Yeah, and in Colorado, weird things do happen. Maybe there, you get a little Colorado effect there, and certainly some of those teams can play spoilers. The Marlins or the Rockies could play spoiler, but it is a pleasing schedule for the Dodgers when you look at it on paper anyways. You're not facing the Phillies like the Mets are 7 times. You're facing the Marlins and the Rockies 6 times. So it's within their reach. Look, if they can beat the Dodgers when they face them next week, and they can maybe the Dodgers lose 1 or 2 in the meantime as well, like, you're right there. You could definitely win the division. But right now, with the Dodgers winning last night, they're keeping their pace at least a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, guys, let's control the controllables here. All right? Let's control the controllables. First thing to control is the cut line. Padres are in great control.
Clinching the playoff spot in general.
Right.
Yep.
Padres are in great control. 6. Magic number 6 now, right? Right, Braden?
Website says 7 with
7?
tiebreakers and everything else.
There we go, 7. Okay, magic number 7.
But it should be. I don't know why it's not. It's got to be a tiebreaker thing.
Because the Braves lost. Okay, but
Correct.
it's still, yeah.
But the
It's
Braves,
weird.
I think it's because the Braves and the Mets still play each other.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Fair enough.
So one of those 2 teams is guaranteed to lose 2 more games. It has something to do with that.
Correct. So, okay, so magic number 7. Magic numbers within clinching this week. This week, they can clinch a playoff spot. That's job 1. Yeah. Job 2, clinch home field in the wild card round, because those are home games in the first round. That's something we did not have in 2022. Home games in the first round. Boom. The last thing is the NL West. And if you can get it, they're going to try to get it.
They want to get it. This clubhouse yesterday was talking about it. They want to win the division. However, if they don't, they're still feeling very confident about their chances as a wild card team.
Absolutely. And it just makes me laugh when people are like, well, don't you see that logically it's better to win Of course it's better to win the division. That's why they set up the prize for winning the division. By the way, if you win the division and you're not one of the top 2 seeds, and keep in mind, the scenario that's most likely for the Padres to win the National League West is not for the Padres to literally win out, right? And win their last 11 games. It's for the Dodgers to lose some games, fall to you, so that you then beat them head to head and you take over and get to a tie spot. That spot might be the 3rd division winner, right, just by the nature of dragging them down, unless you're going to win out. If you're going to win out, you're going to win out. But unless you do that, it could be the 3rd division. And then guess what? You don't get a bye. All you get is a home best-of-3 playoff series, which is the exact same thing you get with the 4 seed.
Yeah, it's so interesting how baseball did this, because even, like, he's right, Craig's right, you don't necessarily get the bye. You can win the division. I'm understanding that, right? You can win the division and still not get the bye. So it depends on the seeding and the number of wins where they stack up with the Phillies and the Brewers and et cetera, right? Right. So, I think, look, I'll be honest, like, if you're the Padres, front office, you're really, I don't know if you're hoping. I'm sure you'd be happy with them winning the division and getting a bye, but you're probably going to yourself, hey, playoff baseball for 3 games at Petco Park, and the revenue that could bring in, and the attention of the city, and our chances in our ballpark where the fans have shown up all year long. I think that there's certain things that maybe wouldn't be so bad in terms of how they land. But for the clubhouse, very important to point out, they want to win the division. Yes.
So it's all still out there. It's really, really exciting that with 11 games left, it's all still out there, including winning the division, including getting a bye in the first round. But there's no point in all of this. Well, it could be this, it could be that. We're going to find out in 2 weeks. The next thing to do is to beat the Astros tonight and keep the pressure on.
Yeah, and they've got a good shot. I mean, you can see how locked in this Padres team is feeling. And I really feel like they're getting to even a new gear now that they're seeing the playoffs in sight. You know, they got through their last road trip. They know they've got one more with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, but you're starting to see, hey, we're getting ready here for what is potentially going to be October baseball. And I feel like you're seeing some of these guys kind of click into even ramping up into a new gear. And it's fun to watch, honestly, because I think that they're really locked in. They're really focused right now. So to me, like, they're not even looking at their opponent as much as like, we have to do what we have to do, which is what they've said all year long. And especially out of the All-Star break, just keep playing our brand of baseball, doing the things that we know how to do right, and get a win any way possible. Like, the wins might not be pretty right now, or they might not be, the most runs, the most whatever, but they don't care. It's just get the win any way possible.
When we come back, pitching is leading the Padres into the postseason, and it could be the thing that drives them through the postseason. More details on a brilliant night out at Petco Park last night. When we come back, Annie and Elsten underway. We're rolling till 2 o'clock. And Padres baseball tonight with a great matchup of power right-handers, Michael King and Hunter Brown, who started 0-5 and was banished to the bullpen for Houston, and since then has been pitching like baby Verlander, which is kind of what he fashions everything. Like, his windup is Verlander, his workout routine is Verlander.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah.
I've had him on my legacy league for a couple of years. I was watching him last year as a rookie, and he literally everything he does, he tries to mimic Verlander.
Not a bad strategy.
No. Especially when you have Justin Verlander over there in the corner to talk to.
In your clubhouse.
How exactly do you fit your pants again?
Yeah.
Which cleats do you wear?
Yes.
How do you like
What's
to set your belt?
What's your superstitions? Yeah.
What's your pregame meal? So we've got that for you at 6:40 tonight. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. 1023 on The Fan. It's Andy and Elsten, your midday hang with you. San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We're the home of the Padres, that's why. Padres baseball, 540, Eco Water SoCal pregame show with Sam Levitt. 640 will be the first pitch between the Padres and the Astros. Michael King throwing that pitch. Padres trying to win another series against a playoff team. And you know what's funny, and I know we'll get in far more into my anxiety over the weekend as the week progresses, but these to me are strangely the perfect games and opponents for the Padres going into the playoffs, in my opinion. A really good team like Houston, really solid pitching staff, tough lineup with hitters you really have to negotiate, and Tucker and Bregman, veterans along the way like Hayward and Altuve, right? Hall of Famer at the top of their lineup. Like, our team responds to that. That's the exact challenge they're going to have 2 weeks from now. And I always feel like they rise to that challenge, maybe compared to when a do-nothing team drags into the stadium.
Yeah, no. Yes, I agree. I think that this is a team that you kind of want to play a good contender right now, right? Like you're playing the Astros, and that's going to give you confidence. And you're not going to just kind of go into the playoffs the last 2 weeks going, well, we just beat easy teams. And, not that they would. I mean, they've obviously taken a hard road to get here, but you're really going to feel like you earned it, right? Like, you're going to get through the Astros. You got the Dodgers and Diamondbacks next week. Yes, you got the White Sox later this week. But I think you're right. I think it's kind of both sides of the spectrum. So you get to also see, hey, are you deficient in any areas? Do you guys need to clean anything up? This is a good team you're facing. How are they going to face you? So I think that those are all good things when you're looking at a team that wants to go deep into the postseason.
Yes. And it was fun as such last night to see the way that this team responded and shut down a Houston lineup. Pitching is going to be the thing that carries you to playoff series wins. And unless you get a bye, you need to win 4 playoff series to hoist the Commissioner's Trophy and to be the champions of Major League Baseball. So it was great to see top line Yu Darvish. 6 shutout innings, gets it done in 79 pitches?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
79 pitches. Yeah. I mean, used his curveball more. He was effective. He used 7 pitches and against a good lineup.
Yeah. Really, really good lineup. And maybe changing his pitch mix a little bit, but that's what you do when you have 11 pitches to start with, is you can, pull 6 out of the closet that look good that day and maybe 2 that really look sharp and lean on them. But bottom line, we talked about it before, Annie, that you, in a weird way, as the team leader and staff ace, had kind of a 3-start audition to the coaching staff to prove that he deserves one of 3 coveted playoff slots in a best-of-3 series. And yesterday, big step in the right direction.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this coaching staff has always been dead set on, since you came back, he's going to be part of our postseason rotation. But, you got to make sure that he's feeling well, that he's healthy. He's able to go a little longer, right? So he went in his 60s the first 2 starts, and this one he was able to jump to 79. So you got to figure next time out, and he was efficient. 6 innings, 79 pitches. That's great. He could have gone longer if he was, stretched out a little bit more. They were comfortable with that. So good news for him. And I think good news for a starting rotation that, like, as any starting rotation, hits a few bumps in the road, went 5 innings like 2 weeks ago, was having trouble getting out of 5 innings. And now this past turn has all gone 6 or at least 5, or, 5 with 1 run, but mostly scoreless. I mean, that says a lot about where this rotation is trying to get to as well.
Then into the bullpen, and we'll go in reverse. Robert Suarez, 1-2-3 in the 9th inning. Hey, listen, we did the concernometer yesterday. I think there was no question that what Mike Schultz said publicly he believed, which he was going to give Suarez the next close save opportunity. It looked like it was going to be a 1-run game until Profar loosened that up a little bit in the bottom of the 8th. But nonetheless, I don't know if he was going to give him the one after that if he had blown another one in a row. So it was wonderful to see what he did last night.
Yeah, and that was your ideal situation. You come out the next day and you get the save. He did on, I think, 8 pitches. I mean, he was, he was Robert Suarez-esque, and that's what you want. And, I remember a caller a few weeks ago that asked us on Ask Us Anything what the clubhouse was like to Robert Suarez after the grand slam, after that blown save. And I thought about it later. I was talking to some people too, and it's like Robert Suarez is the same way. That's what you want from your closer. He's ice in his veins. He was at his locker ready to talk to the media after that blown save, the same way he is after he gets a save. He's the same person, whether it's blown or he has success saving it. And you want that kind of guy that's like, okay, ready to get back out there, ready to go, and doesn't, it's almost like you don't want it to be a big dramatic thing, because then it means something is happening, and there's like some kind of drama going on, and it wasn't with him. He washed it off, get back to work, go back out there. So to have that happen yesterday, I think was a very ideal situation for him.
Couldn't have gone any better, honestly. And also a reminder that all of these guys have their foibles and have their ups and downs, because guess what? Tanner Scott pitched on a back-to-back game.
Yeah.
And guess what? On the second game of the back-to-back, he wobbled badly and he gave up a run. And if not for a couple of good plays and a great final, plate appearance, could have even given up more last night.
Yeah, that's why you're going to need all these guys. And they are not going to be perfect every time out. But you got to look for enough reinforcements in those bullpen where you're able to deploy the next guy up when you need to. And more times than not, it's been successful for the Padres. Will that run out at some point? It may. But right now they need to win games. And this is where they're at. And it's been working for them. They're not going to be, I can't say it enough, they're not going to be perfect every night. They're just not, And so you're just hoping that you're able to pick the right matchups and get the right amount of rest and deploy them in the right way as much as possible when you need them in the playoffs.
I want to go back to the Darvish pitch count point for just a second, because it's just something to illustrate. But in June, that really mattered. In August, that really mattered. Today, I don't think it matters.
For him to go deep, you mean?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For him to, now he's built up to 80, so that means he could go to 100 and maybe 108 the next time. They're never going to let him go to 108 the rest of the year. I don't think they're going to let any starting pitcher go that deep the rest of the year unless the situation is exactly such as this pitcher is dominating, the game is out of reach, the bullpen is taxed and absolutely needs extra innings from the starter along the way. Maybe it's a game 4 of a playoff series where the bullpen has gone, 4-4-4, the last 3 games. That's the only circumstance they're going to push a pitcher. Mike Shildt has shown us all year he'll pull a guy early before he pulls a guy late.
Yeah, and that's going to be a difference. That's going to be a change from the last time the Padres were in the postseason then, because I just pulled up Joe Musgrove when he faced the Mets. 7 innings. He went 7 scoreless innings, then 6 innings, then 5 2/3 innings. And so, if that's kind of what Mike Shildt is going to do, which I agree, maybe is more along Mike Shildt style versus Bob Melvin. But I think they'll be ready for it no matter what. And maybe you will have a day where you need to kind of rest the bullpen a little bit more. I'm looking at, trying to find Darvish here. But you know what I'm saying? I think that's going to be so manager dependent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but Mike Shildt has shown that, right? He goes to the bullpen aggressively.
He really does. He's going to use those guys. He's going to use a pitcher in a leverage situation that has yet to appear. You know what I mean? He's not waiting for the bases to be loaded. He's trying to look a little bit ahead and pull a guy a batter early. And it's worked. It's worked all year long. He's leaned on him all year long. And he's going to keep doing that in the playoffs. I know that in my heart.
Yeah, and I look at Darvish. So in 2022 against the Mets, 7 innings, 1 earned run. Then it was 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 7 innings, 2 earned runs in the NLCS against Philadelphia, and then 6 innings, 2 earned runs. So it's going to be an interesting thing, because I think you're right. I think that he's probably going to deploy to the bullpen earlier than later. And that's part of the postseason strategy of, the gamesmanship of the managers and how they're going to utilize their guys.
Absolutely. When we come back, I saw this in the chat earlier, and I couldn't agree more. There's only one thing that is going to derail the Padres train right now. And I'm sure a lot of you were worried about that at least once, if not twice, during the game last night. That's injuries. We'll talk about Luis Arraez, Jason Adam, and the Padres when we continue. Annie and Elsten go until 2 o'clock. It's San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Coming up at the end of this segment, we are going to be giving away a $50 gift card to participating restaurants for San Diego Restaurant Week, which
That'll
is
be fun.
Yeah, right? It's next week, September 22nd to the 29th. Get more info at sandiegorestaurantweek.com.
I've done
Jim
Restaurant
won.
Week before. It's a good time.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Jim won yesterday, so we'll see who wins today.
All right, Jim, you're out for today, though, buddy. Everyone named Jim is out for today.
You can technically win as much as you want on this show
Oh, okay.
and on
You're back
Odyssey
in,
platforms. You're back in, Jim.
Jim. Jim, you're back in the game.
We
He's
also
gonna go
have
sell it on the underground market or whatever, like
Hey,
just
want a
rack
gift
up
card?
as many as he can.
I got some gift cards for
Yeah.
you. So pay attention. Pay attention during the segment. We'll quiz you on something from the segment when we get to the end of the segment.
and then we got Padres and Astros tickets to give away in the 1 o'clock hour.
Yes, we
That's
do.
fun.
That's a super tease.
And that is for
Tomorrow.
the Wednesday game, the Tatis bobblehead, platinum
Correct.
glove bobblehead.
That's gonna be the platinum glove bobblehead is nice.
Yeah.
I keep seeing the visual of that, but also that's a good pitching matchup tomorrow too.
Yes, it's
Ace
Cease
and
and,
Ace.
and Valdez.
Yes.
I mean, tonight's a good matchup. King and
yes.
Brown is a good matchup. Heck,
Very-
last night was a good matchup.
No, it's true. It's true. These are good games. They're competitive games, and look, you even saw the Astros there at the end of the game trying to come back a little bit. I mean, you saw this has the inkling of getting a little spicy the next few days.
Hey, picking up that first game is huge. It really is. Yeah, I said 4-2 is an absolute bare minimum this week, and that's one. That's one right there. You got the White Sox coming this weekend. Oh, by the way, you see the White Sox won again?
Oh, who they
They're on
play?
a tear right now.
The White Sox are hot at the exact wrong
Were they
time.
playing the Angels?
Yeah.
Yes,
Nobody gets the White Sox
God.
hot like the A's and the Angels.
they won.
They're loving their Southern
They won.
California run.
California dreaming.
They're
No, I-
already thinking of vacation. They're like, this feels great.
I am telling you guys, this is the weight of history working against the Padres. The White Sox don't want to be the worst team in baseball history.
But now that they're winning, are they getting out of contention for that record or?
Well, the more they win, I mean, they have to finish with a winning record down the road.
Oh, okay.
Down the stretch to avoid it. They're at what? They're at 115. Let me double check. I think they're at 115 right now, right? 120. Yeah, they're 36 and 115. The last time we did this, they were 33 and 114.
Oh, they are on a
So,
surge.
yeah, they have won 3 out of 4 games. I literally don't know if that's happened this year. They've won 3 in a row. I don't know if that's happened this year.
I don't think it has. I mean, they were winning like one every 20 games or one every 30 games or something. I mean, it was very
Hey.
bleak.
They got young talent, their general manager says. They're going to cut payroll and not buy in free agency. Did you hear that?
Oh,
That's what he said.
just ride
Earlier
the young
this week.
talent. Yeah, that's ride that young talent.
We got a
that's
lot of young
clearly
guys
there.
here that we believe in. We're not going to make a splash in free agency or spend too much, and we're probably going to cut payroll.
Well,
Cut payroll.
that's cute.
What do you have left to cut?
It's like saying, I've chosen not to ask out any of the cheerleading team this year to the prom. They weren't going to take you anyway. I don't think the White Sox were going to be getting big-time free agents anyway.
I
He
mean,
said,
how
like,
many
any free agents.
Right. Like how many players are on the phone as much as they can to their agents, don't want to go to Sacktown or
Yeah.
Sacramento River Cats or whatever, don't want to go to
Well,
White Sox.
Word on the street was that a lot of minor league White Sox players requested a trade because it's so miserable in that organization.
Well, got to ride that talent. Point being, these jerks are getting hot at the exact wrong time because they don't want to lose 120 games, and we are standing in their way. And, hey, it's going to be a big-time series this weekend. It really is. I'm telling you, it's going to be a big-time
Love
series.
it. The last regular season homestand. It's not really called a homestand anyways in the postseason, but whatever. Last homestand of the season for the Padres. Good. Go out, with some drama.
Now,
Hopefully good drama.
Hopefully good drama, because the only thing that can derail this train is an out-of-nowhere injury. That's the only thing that can derail this train. Everything is coming up roses for the Padres right now. Everything's coming up brown and gold roses right now. And then we watch Arraez, who is on one of his all-time heaters, hitting .450 for like 2 weeks, locking up his third straight batting title. It's all but locked up right now. And actually running well, like zipping around the bases the last couple of days. And he comes zipping around. And was it the right decision to send him on Jason Hayward in that play in what I believe was the 6th inning? I don't know if it was.
I don't know. I have a hard time with critiquing the third base with
Me too.
critiquing Tim Leaper's decisions. I mean, he's got to go for it. If he doesn't sense like they're taking it too easy if they're not risking something.
Sure.
At
They like biscuits.
right. Yeah, you gotta take a risk if you're gonna risk it. If you're gonna get the biscuit. Thank you, Sean Lewis. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't
coin it,
Yeah,
but he brought it back into my lexicon.
There you go.
But yeah, so I mean, I didn't slow it down. I know some people did to see like, where did Hayward have the ball? Where was the ball when he was rounding third or getting to third or whatever? But I thought it was a fine send. I thought I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, he was lined up. He had the ball as Arraez was touching third. Basically, he was,
Yeah, he's got a great arm.
He's got a great arm. He's
Yeah.
got one of the best arms in baseball. Honestly, Arraez getting thrown out, I don't care. Arraez getting hurt, I care.
Yeah.
And he was put into an awkward situation because of this rule, the block the plate rule. He's put into an awkward situation. He tries to tumble around the catcher. He winds up bonking his knee into the plate, and he stays in the game and gets a double his next time up. But as he comes around first to second, there was a certain hitch in his giddy up. And now after the game, jammed knee sore. These are words that exist in the English language. I have no idea what they mean relative to whether he plays today.
Yeah, he's certainly got swelling and inflammation, I'm sure. And so I'm sure they'll take another look at it, whatever they can take a look at today. And hopefully some of that's gone down. They can take a better look and they'll see how he feels today. I would not be surprised if he sits today.
Yeah, me neither.
He is a guy, though, that does not want to be out of the lineup. I think that there's a tendency of like, hey, against the White Sox, sit him for 3 games. That is like, he will hate his life at that point. This is a guy who is a master at his craft, and his craft is hitting, and he loves to work on his craft. And so, you got to do what's best for his body. They're going to have to make that call. If he really is injured, you got to sit him, right? If it's something where he can DH, I guess you roll the dice with that. But you do need him good for the postseason. So maybe that's giving him, maybe you are giving him a few days off. You have an off day on Thursday. Maybe you're lining up an off day with that. So to give him 2 days off in a row. But we're going to have to wait and see what it is.
I would be surprised if he played today.
So would I.
But if he plays today, that's very encouraging, right? Because, I mean, the training staff isn't going to just be blasé about this.
No.
Not with if the Padres were where the Braves are, I would guarantee you Luis Arraez played today.
Exactly. And it's a think about it like with this thumb. They probably wanted him to rest it a little bit more, but he didn't want to, right? He wanted to go out there. So it's probably going to be one of those things. If he needs to, if there is an injury that he is going to hurt himself, hurt the team, hurt whatever, like there's going to be no choice for him. He's going to have to sit, But if it's something where he's like, hey, they're like, you can't do any further damage to it. It's just going to hurt. It's a pain tolerance thing. Okay, he's going to have to make that decision at some point and see how he feels. But that's the best case scenario, right? Like it's just a pain tolerance thing and it's nothing super serious.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this guy literally tear a ligament in his thumb and start hitting 3 days later. But his performance suffered for 2 months before things started to turn around. The one question I would have because he's gonna DH. That's the only role for him now. I mean, he can swap in for Solano at first base, but in the current configuration, he's the DH for the team. I think Solano is barely, slightly better at first. I don't think either one of them's very good at first, but defensively. But
he'll still need to run DHing.
But that's the thing. That's what I was just driving at, Annie.
Too bad you can't put a person next to you, right? And be like, Tyler, run.
Right.
Hit
Yeah,
the
ghost
ball.
runner.
Yeah.
Ghost
or just
runner.
like right next to you at the plate.
He's just ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Wade, take your mark.
Yes.
That'd be amazing.
Once you hear the sound,
Yeah.
go.
Crack. Go. Amazing.
I want to see it.
The only thing I would say is if Arraez is playing slowed, do you want him to lead off still? Because now he might be going station to station in front of all your best hitters.
I don't think you mess with it. Oh, I don't think you mess with it.
How hurt is he and for how long?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. How hurt is he? And for if he's out of the line, obviously if he's out of the line, he's not going to be leading off. But if he's how hurt is he and for how long? Right.
Like if he really can't run, you know what I mean? Like if he is advancing one base on a double, that kind of thing.
He's like hopping on one foot.
Yeah.
To like, yeah. I mean, yeah. You look, you could tell he was it was painful yesterday. I mean, that was hard to watch him try to hit that double and try to, get to second base there. And because you could tell he was in pain. So, you don't want that for him. You want him to be able to heal and get himself ready for a postseason run. How much he might be able to push it is what we're gonna have to determine. And once they know what's going on.
Oh, I like Jeff's idea too. The original runner has to get to first, but then you've got a relay. You've got the dude with the baton waiting. So that Lockridge all of a sudden has a key role in Major League Baseball. Could you imagine this? This is the Brendan Lockridge rule, basically. Just have a dude whose entire job is to be waiting at first base. And then Machado hits a single, gets over there, goes, your turn, dude. Yes. Boom! Tearing around the base paths.
I want to see it. This is this kind of stuff that you need to do at the All-Star game. Okay?
Yes,
give us something like this. Make it exciting.
100%. Little innovation.
A little innovation.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
That's fun. So, yeah, Arraez, a scare last night. The other scare was when Jason Adam caught a cleat, and it looked like he might have turned an ankle. And I was like, no. That actually scared me more. Like, we would hate to lose Arraez. We can't lose Jason Adam.
I didn't hear anything about that after the game. And that is also one where it's like you finish the inning, and you hope that it's not worse than it was, because sometimes adrenaline is carrying you. And he was able to finish the inning. He walked off the mound okay, right? Like he looked okay.
Yeah, he even almost seemed like he had a joke for the trainer when he came out. I saw it almost looked like he said psych to him, like psych, I'm good. I don't think he did. I don't know. It was hard to read. I was trying to take a look, but
I hope for his sake, I hope for Luis Arraez that they are both okay. And yeah, absolutely. Like if Luis Arraez is injured and he's going to want to go out there, if it's in his best interest to sit him, you got to sit him. But hopefully it's not too long, and hopefully it's not too serious of an injury. Jason Adam, another scoreless inning yesterday. This is like one run, and I was trying to find it real quick. One run in 22 or 23 innings. That's wild.
If there was ever a discussion about do you need to make a shakeup in that configuration, it's to put Adam at the end of it. It's nothing else. It's to put him at the end of it. He's been that good.
Crazy about Adam too, because he had 4 elbow surgeries. He had 4 arm surgeries in the span of when he was in the minors and trying to make his way, and didn't think he was going to make it at one point. Am I even going to be able to continue in baseball? Just one thing after another, and to get to where he is now, that's a comeback.
Yeah, last thing about Arraez, if it is a couple of days, you can put Peralta in the lineup. That's the beauty of this.
For sure.
You can just put Peralta in the lineup. You can kick Solano from 8th up to 2nd in the order, or you could lead off to Tatis and bat Solano 2nd. There's plenty of things you can do if you're Mike Shildt. So the team does have that depth right now that they can withstand something, even 2 things, right? Kim's already out. I'm not going to forget that Kim's already out. And this would be a second hit. Yeah,
he was out there yesterday, but I'm not sure exactly what he did. But he was out there doing a little throwing. I think something about Wednesday. They're going to look at something again. So, maybe getting some more indication on what might be going on with him. But let me see. Shildt said nothing changed from yesterday. He's going to start playing a little more aggressive catch. They think on Wednesday, but they're still going to have to make sure he's responding well enough to play aggressive catch. So.
Kim's out for the game.
Yeah, and listen, you're right. They can withstand. If Arraez needs to go down for a few days, they can withstand that. And they can withstand. That's why you have a bench the way you do.
Yeah, they've got that ability. It's not just right now Tyler Wade or nothing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They've got options, and they've got good options. Last thing about our man Arraez, I don't think it was a jinx or anything, but we did call it yesterday. We said when that streak ends, it's ending on a swinging strike 3. He is not taking strike 3 called to end his strikeout streak. He is swinging and missing, and that's certainly what he did against Spencer Arrighetti. The 9th pitch of the at-bat, I think the 5th 2-strike pitch of the at-bat after all his foul balls, and finally a curveball low and in gets him.
Yeah, and after the game, Luis Arraez was more mad about the strikeout than his knee situation. He was more upset about the strikeout, so that is going to tell you something right there. But yeah, 9th pitch of the at-bat, second time he was facing Arrighetti Spaghetti. And I just think, again, more towards the end of the year, probably, although I know we keep doing it on the show when we can. So it ends at 141 plate appearances, right?
Yeah.
What a tremendous run for this guy. I mean, again, watching Luis Arraez has just been just a joy. It really has.
I agree.
And, what he's doing, he makes it kind of look easy, but it is not. And it's been so fun to watch. And yeah, he struck out, but that doesn't make it what he's doing any less impressive.
Next to Merrill, he's probably on the top of the list of I really want to see an extension
I
for
would
this
like
guy.
to see him continue with the Padres.
I think he's going to be more affordable than almost anyone else on this team because of the thing that Ella rails against. And probably he's on the cruise right now telling the captain, analytics suck. Have you ever watched Luis Arraez? Come on. But hey, Arraez doesn't have a position. He doesn't hit for power. He's not the best runner in history, although he's pretty fast when he gets out there and runs. Yeah, he does.
He's maybe not the top tier defender, but I think he's pretty good defensively. I think he's solid.
Well, whether he is or not, baseball doesn't think so. And that's good for a Padre team that wants to sign him because they can go to Luis and say, we think you're great.
Yeah.
We don't know what these other cats are talking about. We think you're great. Let's give you a, 15 a year type contract.
It's so true. I look at Luis Arraez and I'm like, what team doesn't want this guy? But there are. You're absolutely right. There are teams that are just not going to value what he does. And I'm like, what? Well, okay, the Padres will value it.
Yeah.
This team will value it, and so will this fan base.
All right. What was the final tally of Luis Arraez's no strikeout streak? How many plate appearances did he go? First person with the correct answer at 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973 will win our $50 Restaurant Week gift card. And then we're back with Letters to AJ in the Deep Dive Hour next. Talking Padres, it's what we do around here at Andy and Elsten. But we kind of got lucky because this has been a great year to talk Padres.
Yes. If this show would have started last year, different year. Lots to talk about, but would have been a different tone.
Yeah. I mean, last year was the first year of Padres Hot Tub with Chris Reed and Rafi. My old partner John had left, and so they came in, and we were tested by the trial of fire of a year of talking about disappointment. And so it colored everything this year. No, you and I got to come in on a fresh, clean sheet laid out by Mike Schilt, perfectly, holistically tucked in at the corners.
Yeah.
And it's been a great, great time. Makes it easier to write about the San Diego Padres as well. And we are thrilled to have, once again, on our hotline to kick off today's Padres Deep Dive Hour, which is brought to you by Frozen Ropes Baseball and Softball Training Facilities, now introducing the Freezy Batting Cage membership for only $79 a month. For more information, visit SanDiegoFrozenRopes.com. Here is the man who helps put together the letters to AJ Substack that has just gained notoriety and acclaim as the year has gone along. We told you from the beginning he's one of the best writing about the Padres. Dylan is joining us now on the hotline for another return appearance on Annie and Elsten. How are you today, my friend?
Doing good. Good morning.
Very good morning to you as well. Let's get into it, man. You put out a great piece yesterday, chock full of highlights, by the way, going through the road trip that was and getting into the details of everything that took place during a tremendously successful 4-1 road trip. But the thing I pulled away from it the most, Dylan, and we talked about it a little bit on yesterday's show, is raising the ceiling. And I think it's just so clear that Yu Darvish last night plays into this narrative as well, behind Joe Musgrove, behind Fernando Tatis Jr. These guys coming back has raised the ceiling for this club.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's September, and everybody's looking for which team is getting hot, which team's going to have that momentum that carries into the postseason. But something we tried to highlight is it's a little bit different when it comes to the Padres, because you're not just talking about the same group of players, finding good form in September. You're talking about the return of major game changers in September. So the ceiling's being raised because the team's materially improving in September after having been so good all year, and that's unusual. That's not your typical paradigm for a hot team in September.
On that note, what stood out to you about the way Fernando Tatis Jr. has looked in his return to play?
He looked like Fernando Tatis Jr. of old. You saw him reaching heights that only a few players in the league can. I would say over the last week, what stood out the most was his one-pitch home run against Taylor Rogers. He's coming off the bench. You presume he's cold against a reliever that has made a lot of professional hitters look really foolish, has really deceptive mechanics. And he just launched the first pitch that he saw. And something that we wrote about is in the StatCast breakdown, it wasn't a very fast pitch. The pitch was 81 miles an hour, but had a great exit velocity. And it's because Tatis's bat speed is all the way back. It is fantastic. He's reaching extremely fast bat speeds and barreling up pitches. And you're just seeing a player that looks every bit, a top 5 player in the league.
Dylan, I even heard the afternoon show talk about this a little bit, but, you mentioned a first pitch homer for Fernando. It's no surprise he's hit 49 first pitch homers in his career. He also takes a rip at that first pitch almost as often as he doesn't. He's had 885 at-bats in his career where he swung at the first pitch compared to 1,082 that he hasn't. So, it's a good 40-plus percentile that he is going to take a rip at that first pitch. There are many times, and I'll be perfectly honest, there are many times where he fouls one off on the first pitch and it drifts over the line and out of play, and I just go, whew, thank goodness, because that means he's going to have a real at-bat now, But you can't take that away from the player, can you, Dylan? You can't take it away because he's also hit 287 in his career on that first pitch, and he's hit 275 in the rest of his at-bats.
Yeah, it's a dilemma for pitchers because when you look at the subsequent outcomes after a first pitch ball or first pitch strike, there's a pretty meaningful swing in expected outcomes, and it's a big deal not to throw a first pitch strike. On the other side, you want a good pitch to hit. Tatis is really not up there to walk. He never has been, and he can do terrific things when he gets a good pitch to hit. So I would absolutely expect he'll continue to take that approach. He'll continue to try to get that great first pitch to hit and do some real damage. And I also expect pitchers are going to continue to give him those pitches to hit, because falling behind 1-0 to a pitcher, to a hitter like Tatis, that's a big deal also.
Dylan Cease had a good start, just like the rest of this rotation against the Giants. It seemed good to see after some scuffling along the way before that. For yourself, anything that you picked out of that in terms of, his velocity was back up and the pitch usage that he imploded there? That he used there?
I think that's exactly what it is. You worry about late season fatigue, and that's a real worry. The baseball season is, it's ridiculously long. And when you see drop in velocity towards the end of the season, you can't help it. But that's what comes into your mind. Is this late season fatigue? Is he not going to, get his stuff back as we enter the final phase of the regular season and the playoffs? So what you hope for is you hope to see an outing where not just the results are good, but the life on the fastball is there and the velocity is there. And that implies, physical health. That implies this isn't somebody that's wearing down. That's exactly what we saw in his last start, and that's a relief.
We're talking to Dylan from the Letters to AJ Substack. You can find it Letters to AJ on Twitter as well, also known as X. Your last piece, as mentioned, was put up yesterday. Momentum was the title of it, subtitled The Return of Difference Makers. You had a couple of different sequencing deep dives within the course of the piece, and that's where I wanted to go next, Dylan. We can get back to Joe Musgrove and the great things he's doing, sequencing his pitches, and you really went into depth about that. But then you went into depth on another pitcher who's not sequencing his pitches right now, Robert Suarez, and in particular showing in the Heliot Ramos at bat, in the Parker Meadows at bat, beyond a missed location, actually a kind of troubling pattern of almost like a quarterback staring down his wide receiver, him staring down a spot in the strike zone and just hitting that spot over and over to the batter's benefit.
Yeah, the Heliot Ramos at bat, what really stood out was the two pitches before the home run, because you saw Ramos really getting the timing down, and you saw really good swings, and he just missed with both of those swings, fouling the ball off to the right side. It looked like he clearly was anticipating outer half fastballs, was timing it up, and was trying to take an opposite field approach. But contrary to, we saw Parker Meadows get to Suarez earlier in the month, that had a little bit more of the batter, still kind of struggling with a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. That just wasn't the case with Ramos. He was taking enormous hacks. He was trying to hit the ball into the Pacific Ocean, and he ultimately did. And it's that predictability that you worry about, because Suarez has a fantastic fastball. It might not be good enough to get hitters out who know it's coming and know where it's coming. Someone once said, a major league hitter can time up a jumbo jet if you give him enough looks at it. And I think that's kind of the paradigm here, is you give a hitter enough looks at a fastball, even a fastball as good as Suarez, and it's just going to become easier for them to barrel it up. And I think what was most alarming with Ramos's at bat is the swings he was taking were so good that it looked reproducible, and that's a worry down the stretch and into the postseason.
All right. Well, Dylan, the thing is, you can time up a jumbo jet, but can you square it up? Never mind. That's a bad joke.
It's a fair question. Yeah.
Seems like it would be really hard. Seems like it would be really difficult. Well, on the other side of that is Joe Musgrove, right? And how has he been utilizing his arsenal to such an effective degree?
Well, something that stood out about Musgrove is, he also has his velocity back, and he's made mechanical changes that include, not just changing his mechanics and getting to better athletic performance and getting his velocity up. He's also changed his pitch shapes. He's throwing a gyro slider. So he's literally giving hitters a different look this year than in any previous season. And he's been very effective in the past, but he's adding, new tricks to his bag this year in addition to getting healthy, getting to good mechanics where he can get good velocity. And he's always been someone that relies heavily on sequencing and location. He has terrific breaking stuff. And when he can give hitters a look at a fastball and then follow that up with breaking stuff that kind of looks like a fastball out of the hand and then dances out of the zone, it wreaks havoc on the mind of the hitter. They can't time him up. They don't know what's coming. And he throws so many pitches and throws so many of them well that he's able to keep hitters off balance, and he's been doing that. He's been executing it. He had such an unusual start the last game out against the Giants at home where he had that, that implosion in one inning that was very hard to explain and understand. And it really looked like he had been very, very sharp and then just had this sequence of a few pitches in a row where the Giants could not stop hitting home runs. And something seemed like it changed. It's almost impossible to say what it was. But what you hope for after that is a palate-cleansing start where Musgrove just looks like himself, and that's exactly what we saw as well.
Well, Dylan, before we let you head on out of here, tell everybody where they can subscribe to your Substacks, get something in their news, in their email inbox every time you write it, and also follow you on social media.
Yeah, so it's Substack. It's letters to AJ at substack.com. That's letters to the number 2, and that's also the Twitter handle. We try to post everything on Twitter for anyone that doesn't subscribe. But it's easy to subscribe on Substack, and then you get everything right in your email in basket.
And you know what? Last thing, because we do have 2 minutes left in the segment. You also wrote about the defensive configuration. What's your concernometer on just the overall shift of having Bogaerts at short, Cronenworth at second, and either Solano or Arraez at first base now?
I think the two concerns are Bogaerts, he has years of playing shortstop. There's muscle memory there that he's going to get back, but you did see a moment in Seattle that turned out to be the key moment where it looked like a play that shortstops make routine. It wasn't routine for him. He made a throw that put Cronenworth off balance and led to an error. That's something that if that error is going to happen, you want it to happen now when there's multiple games left in the regular season for him to clean it up. And the reason that is so imperative is we just don't have any word that Ha-Sung Kim's coming back. That would be concern number one. But, I think there's enough time in the regular season that's something that Bogaerts likely will clean up. And he was a very good shortstop when he was playing that regularly. The concern with Solano at first base, that's a 5'8" first baseman, and that can matter. That is a smaller target, and we never wrote about this, but when we had that catastrophic Angels series earlier in the season, there were plays where a throw pulled Solano off the bag because he just had to elevate to catch it, and he's not the biggest target. That's a pretty marginal consideration, but that's a clear difference. Irrespective of how good his hands are, how much range he has, that's a clear physical difference between having him and having Cronenworth play first base, and you just hope that doesn't end up mattering.
Yeah. That's why the Angels didn't really play Sean Figgins at first base a lot, right? They put him somewhere else in the infield so he could throw it to somebody taller than him. All right, Dylan, great
Absolutely.
stuff as always, man. Really appreciate your analysis, and I'm excited to say this. Look forward to talking to you in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll talk to you then.
Keep the faith. There's Dylan again. Letters to AJ at Substack. Go to Substack, type in letters, the number 2, AJ. You can find it. Also, all their pieces out on Twitter, completely free. I don't know why. I mean, should probably start charging $7 a month, but completely free. And not only detailed analysis, but a lot of great graphics, a lot of great clips, highlight clips that are illustrative of the point that's being made. I think that's why everybody's reading them.
Yeah, some visuals there to help you out.
All right, when we come back on the Padres Deep Dive Hour, Jackson Merrill. The season is moving from Rookie of the Year into potentially historic territory. We'll tell you where when we continue on the Deep Dive next. It's Andy and Elsten on The Fan. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile, you can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. Padres Deep Dive Hour continuing on Annie and Elsten. Annie Halbrin, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenet. We're all together with you in our Odyssey studios, grooving toward another Padres-Astros game. Another win takes the series. Pre-game show at 5:40 today. First pitch at 6:40. Last night, Jackson Merrill to dead central again. Gone.
Yeah, he just keeps doing it. Him and Profar, too, on the same game. They've done it so many times this season where the two of them just have done something big.
His 24th home run of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I am here to tell you, as a guy who's been, listen, nobody knew what he was going to be able to do coming out of Double-A, coming out of mostly High A this year. But since Jackson Merrill has shown his abilities on the big league level, I remember all the way back to, it was an early roundtable because we were all sitting in here with our laptops and everything.
Right.
Asking about comps for Jackson Merrill, and the one that I threw out there was Christian Yelich. And I thought that was a really aggressively positive type of comparison to make to a guy like Jackson Merrill. Christian Yelich, a guy who's been an MVP, right? Who's gotten a statue contract in Milwaukee, one of the best players of the last few years before back injuries got to him. Of course, he's out with an injury right now, derailing what had been a great season. But here's the thing. This was part of why I picked Yelich as a comp. Christian Yelich, in his age 21, 22, 23 seasons, hit 20 homers combined. 20 homers in 3 seasons.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Not 20 homers for 3 seasons.
Merrill's blown past that.
20 homers in
Right.
3 seasons. And Jackson Merrill's hit 24 in his first season. He has exploded the model of what he projected to be coming out of minor league baseball, where he was truly thought to be a 275 to 280 hitter. He's kind of locked in on around that, but with doubles power, line drive swing, and arguably 8 to 12 home run power. I mean, he's blown past that.
Yeah, and I love after the game he talked about he was just trying to hit another line drive. He knows at Petco Park, it's crazy. A lot of times you hit the ball hard, it does not leave the ballpark. I think he was a little concerned about that a tiny bit, but he just tried to hit the ball hard, and that's what's happening for him. And that's really what he's been doing all year, and he is honest about that. When he tries to hit home runs, he strikes out or he makes outs. When he just tries to stay within himself, hit the ball hard, line drives, just like they called the Petco Park hitting, or what Victor Rodriguez has tried to instill into this team and has, he hits the home runs. And it's been fun to watch because who knew? Who knew he had that in him at this young age and in this rookie season?
And it's not just homers, right? The other day, it was a 2-double performance out of the 5 spot. And now Jackson Merrill has 27 doubles, 6 triples, 24 homers. That's 57 extra base hits out of the 151 hits he has this year. And that has led to a 504 slugging percentage. Christian Yelich has had a plus 500 slugging percentage at the end of a season 3 times in his 12-year career in big league baseball. Jackson's trying to go 1 for 1 on that category. It wasn't until he was 26 that Christian Yelich hit above a 483 slugging percentage. Merrill is over 500. And I looked this up, especially during the break. I wanted to be sure about this. I'm on the MLB stats page, individual hitters page, sorted for qualified rookies. So right now, Tyler Fitzgerald is the only qualified rookie with a higher slugging percentage than Jackson Merrill. He's at 530. He's done that in 84 games, 270 at-bats. Yeah. Jackson has almost double the at-bats of Tyler Fitzgerald. So his 503 or 504, I'm sorry, is way more impressive.
Yeah, because he's done it consistently, and that's what's been so incredible about watching Jackson Merrill this year. You would not be out of turn to think he's going to hit the rookie wall at some point, because pretty much every rookie does, or every rookie has to adapt to playing more games than they ever had, but also at more intensity than they ever had. And by the way, you're part of a playoff push. So you're not just, you're not on the Rockies trying to do this. You're on the Padres and they need you, and you're part of a winning team and trying to produce every night to help these wins get across the board. But he really hasn't. He had an early 0 for 20. And then I think he had another mini one a month ago, maybe.
Yeah, he had 0 for 18 in
0
there.
for 18.
Yeah.
But then he pops out of it and he gets back to being himself. And he is the same person in the clubhouse and on and off the field. So it's really been remarkable to watch in that sense. And the fact that he's done it consistently has, I think, bolstered his argument pretty, tremendously.
It absolutely has. The last year, the only rookie that played significant time and put up a higher slugging percentage than Jackson Merrill was the guy who won Rookie of the Year, Corbin Carroll, and that was 506.
Yeah.
And Jackson's at 504.
Yeah, wow.
So they're next to each other. And I kept going year by year back through the last few years, skipping 2020, which of course is fake and doesn't count. 60-game schedule. Can't compare 60 games
Take
to
that,
100.
Dodgers.
Well, it can't compare 60 games to 162
No,
games.
I
You can't
don't.
do it.
I don't use the 60-game year either. Yeah.
You just skip that one. and to find somebody who legitimately outslugged him, you have to go back to Tatis in 2019. Yeah. You have to go back to Tatis. Also,
in his rookie year?
Yes. Yeah. When in a half season he hit, 22 homers.
Yeah, he played 84 games. He got hurt.
Right.
And he hit 22?
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine if he had been able to stay on the field a little longer, he would have blown right past that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Of course, staying on the field has been the whole thing
Right.
for Fernando Tatis Jr. his whole career. But here's another thing. Jackson Merrill has an outside shot at 100 runs batted in. He's at 86 right now, but he's moved up into a RBI position in the lineup now and is going to be staying there for the next 11 games. He has the chance to knock in these guys who are on base all the time in Arraez and Tatis and Profar and Machado. And the last rookie to drive in over 100 runs was Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso drove in 120 runs his rookie year. So, he's not going to set a rookie record for RBI, but he can be in rarefied air. It's been years since a rookie hit 100 RBI in a season, and Merrill's right there. Again, a guy who hit 9th to start the year, then 8th, then 7th, finally got up to 6th, then they pushed him back to 7th, and he's finally all the way up to the glorified heights of 5th in the lineup, and he's got 86 runs batted in.
Right. It's what he's doing is fantastic, and I mean it's been so fun to watch for a guy who's never played center field, for a guy who 3 years ago was in high school, playing a 15-game season for his high school team and thinking about going to West Point. I asked him about that yesterday, Braden. He had a different vision for his life. He didn't know that he could make it to the big leagues, and he was looking at his life as a whole in terms of what his future could be. And at that point, talking to West Point and talking about going to play there. And look at how different his life has turned in the matter of a year and a few years there. Only played, 46, 42, something like that, in Double-A. Never even played AAA. Yeah. So 46 or 42 games, something in the 40s, guys, games. But so what he's done is amazing. But honestly, what stands out to me the most is that he has just been himself the entire year. He has stuck to his guns. He's learned from the veterans, but he's also been very confident about his abilities. And he's been a huge team player. I mean, he clearly loves these guys, loves being in the clubhouse, talks about it every day, and I think has been just a real boost.
Second time that Nate Colbert gets a hat tip in 2 weeks, but with that homer last night, Jackson Merrill tied Nate Colbert for second on the all-time Padres list for homers in a rookie season. Nate Colbert hit 24 homers in 1969 when he became the all-time Padres home run leader and never gave that up until a week ago when Manny took it away from him in Seattle. So now here's another thing that has already been passed, but that's the other piece of history that Jackson can make. He's 2 homers from tying Hunter Renfroe for the most ever in a Padres record by a rookie.
I think he's going to do it. And then here's the great thing about Jackson Merrill. He doesn't give a fudge about doing it because he wants to win games and help his team win the World Series. And, I'm sure he'll look back on it when the season ends and be like, hey, that's pretty cool. But this is a guy who doesn't care. He really, I thought when he was first like that at the beginning of the season, I thought that'll wear off, because there's ego involved in this game. And he does have confidence, a healthy confidence, but he really is just about wanting his team to do well. He had that comment about how he had what record did he break? Was it the RBI something or other for rookies or
is it the number of walk-offs that he tied Frank Robinson or whatever?
Maybe, I don't know. But he said something about how he wants the next guy who's in the minors to come in and break it next year.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I
it
mean,
was, yeah.
who says that, you know?
Right.
And he saes that because he's like, that's cool and all, but, we've got some good players down in the minor leagues.
It was the rookie RBI record.
Rookie RBI.
Yeah, he broke Benito's record.
Yeah, I want them to come up and break the record next year and stuff. And so, him and Mike Shildt are made for each other. I think that's another thing that's worked well for Jackson Merrill. This is the kind of player that Mike Shildt loves, and this is the kind of mentality that Mike Shildt has that is Jackson Merrill. And so I just think it's really worked out well. And again, I think a credit to the veterans in the clubhouse also, the Mannies, the Profars, the Tatises, I can go on and on, Peralta and Solano are in the lockers next to him, who have allowed him to be this guy. He did not have to come in like Fernando did a few years ago and be the superstar. He just kind of blossomed into who he is, and that's due in part to how the clubhouse embraced him and also let him be who he is.
Paul Skeens yesterday threw another rock-solid outing, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 Ks, lowered his ERA to 2.07. He's thrown 126 innings. He's got a whip under 1. In any other year, he's an obvious Rookie of the Year.
I'm going to throw Jackson Churio out, too.
Churio's been amazing. 2020.
He's 2020 first rookie in MLB history to hit the 2020 mark before age 21. He has 21 home runs. His OPS is 803. Stolen bases 20. He's still at. But he's not the numbers necessarily that Jackson has, but he's also part of a team that is pushing to win and get in the postseason. I still think Jackson has the edge. But you've got 3 good players here who have done really well in their rookie years.
Yeah, and I think in almost any other year, any one of the 3 would be the obvious Rookie of the Year. The fact that they have to go against one another means that 2 of them will not be the Rookie of the Year. But they'll probably all be All-Stars for years and years to come. That's another thing Jackson Merrill did this year, right? Make the All-Star game.
Yes, and then come out of that and be fine,
Yeah.
I mean, came out of it and just kept on doing what he's been doing.
Yeah, 100%. So, by the way, the betting markets have Merrill as the heavy favorite.
Yeah.
Still the heavy favorite.
He's earned that. If he gets this, whether or not he gets it or not, he has earned it, and he has set the mark high for himself and for what a rookie can do.
And because the Padres aren't just playing out the string, they're still fighting. He's going to be right in there in that number 5 spot, battling for the next 11-ish games.
Remind me, postseason doesn't count for these numbers, right?
No, of course,
right. You look right. Yeah, you look at the regular season. So, a little under 2 weeks to see if anything changes. But certainly, he has more than made the argument for himself. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't even think an offer would take it away from him. Like
No.
if he offered out, I don't know that it would. Maybe, but. I mean, it's almost to that level.
No, he's done enough. I think he's absolutely cemented himself in the conversation. And as a front runner, like you said, I see that Nate in the chat says, I think it's cool the Padres are in the Rookie of the Year discussion. Can't remember the last time. I mean, that's,
Khalil Green,
a good point.
guess. Trying to think.
Tatis would have been, but he was injured.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, he was in the discussion,
Right.
but he didn't win because he was so hurt. Robbie Alomar. Really dating myself and going back. There were a few. Chris Paddock. Yeah, okay. Adam in the chat, our boss, Chris Paddock, was in the discussion because he and Alonso. Of course, Alonso, I think, kind of took that one pretty clean. Cronenworth a little bit, sure. But, well, that's right. But that was 2020, and that was a 60-game year. Cronenworth came in second to Devin Williams. Great call.
Okay.
Great call.
Oh, yeah.
Short
Shout
year.
out Jacob Cronenworth.
Short year. Made it hard. All right, when we come back, listen, if I'm going to clown on the Dodgers all the time for the 60-game season, I'm not going to.
It's hard with that 60-game
us.
season. Look at what credit to the Padres making the playoffs, but it's very hard to put those numbers up against regular 162-game seasons. Not taking nothing away from Jacob Cronenworth and what he earned that year, but it's just as a whole. Think about 60 games for the Padres this year.
Right.
That would have been April and May.
Yeah.
That's it.
Jackson Merrill would definitely not be Rookie of the Year if you stopped this at Game 60.
They would not be in the playoff conversation.
No. I don't even think they had a winning record at Game 60. We could look
I
it
don't
up.
think
But
so, yeah.
if it was 1 or 2 over, and then it went back to 1 or 2 under because that's what they did for 100 games.
Now, I give them all, look, it was hard to play that year. You were playing in stadiums without fans. You didn't have a proper spring training. You were kind of back and forth doing spring training at the facility. I mean, it was a mess of a year. So you had to have some mental toughness to get through that.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to put the numbers up against regular season years.
SDZ in the chat. Jerko. Yeah, Jed Jerko was in the discussion as well. But it's been a minute. It's certainly been a minute. And Jackson Merrill is at the top of the list. A history-making season is what we've been watching. And it continued last night. Just another home run, more great plays in the outfield. The guy is unbelievable. When we come back, taking our regular deep dive in the hunt for October. The schedule to come, this is a hold your ground midweek for the San Diego Padres. Hold your ground for another great chance to advance and move up on the weekend. We'll talk about it as we continue. It's the Padres Deep Dive Hour. It is brought to you by Frozen Ropes, baseball and softball training facilities, and it comes your way only on Annie and Elsten here on The Fan. Baseball's a lot of things, but it isn't boring. Join Rob Bradford on his podcast, Baseball Isn't Boring, where Rob takes you through the league and spotlights what makes the game fun. We're having fun here. Follow Baseball Isn't Boring in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Padres Deep Dive Hour with Annie and Elsten, final segment of this 12 o'clock Sports Fix, of course, comes your way at the top of the hour with all the news that you need to use from the sports world. Let's get back into it. We kind of covered the horse race a little bit in our first segment, Annie, but this is the horse race I like to see covered, the playoff race. It's fun. Padres really did themselves a favor yesterday by winning, and then Arizona did them an even bigger favor by dropping one in Colorado.
Absolutely. And that's the kind of help that the Padres will take. They're doing their part by getting the wins. And if the teams around them are losing, even the better, because it's given them a little bit more cushion and ability to tie up that first wild card spot and have home field advantage for the wild card or possibly make a push for the division.
First, looking at San Diego versus Arizona, it's not easy to give a crystal clear number on what it's going to take to lock this up, but here's the factors at play. San Diego has 3 more wins than Arizona, 86 to 83. They also have 2 fewer losses, 65 to 67. Arizona has 1 game in hand. That game will be spent Thursday. That'll be when the Padres are off. The Diamondbacks will be at Milwaukee, starting a 4-game series. So after Friday, we'll be on even footing the rest of the way, and the half game will be gone forever. So Rockies hosting Arizona the next 2 days at Coors Field while the Padres play Houston. And I think, your dream would be not to give this game back, the game that they just gave you.
Yeah.
But realistically, if both teams go 1-1, that would be pretty amazing. I'm expecting the Rockies to lose the next 2 games to Arizona, but any little help that Colorado brings along is just gigantic, because then you get into that Milwaukee series. And remember, the Brewers just barely missed sweeping Arizona in Arizona, where the Diamondbacks offense is so much stronger than it is on the road. Now they get the chance for them 4 at home, and it's in no way incumbent on Milwaukee to rest. They're about to clinch the Central, but they're in a dead fight to get out of that 3rd seed. And, Milwaukee the last 2 years has won the 3rd seed, won their division, and then lost in the first round to Philadelphia and to Arizona. And their season's been done in 3 games or less.
Well, letters to AJ, Dylan wrote about momentum, right? And what momentum from September carries into the postseason. And Bill James Online, who goes by the Twitter handle Bill James Online, we talked about him earlier in the season as when he talked about the 500 mark. We talked about being a fan of a 500 team is the hardest fan to be of it all.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So he said, my understanding, probably based on research done years ago, is that teams that do well in September or in the last part of the season do no better in postseason than teams that stagger into the playoffs. And he asked if anyone has any research that would confirm or refute that. And Dylan wrote in his column a little bit about it, which was interesting. But I think that it kind of goes, it's not the exact same argument you're making, because the Brewers have had a fine season. They're not just getting hot in September.
Right.
But it is that kind of thing. Like, just because you are leading the division, just because you are maybe doing as well as they've been doing, does that mean that you're not going to be pushed out? We see it happen with Tampa Bay all the time, too. They're another one.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, the most realistic thing I can say about this is to take honestly, a soccer mentality, which is the whole idea of the playoff is stupid to begin with. You play
It is kind of stupid.
It is. Let's be honest. It's dumb.
You know what Martin Perez said to me the other day? He's like, you start over. You start a brand new season. Once the first playoff game hits, nothing else matter that you did before, and you start new.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Here's another. Sarah said on Ben and Woods a couple years, I think at the beginning of this year, they did the breakdown of how long a playoff series would have to be in baseball in order for statistically the better team to actually be favored to win the proper amount of times. You know what I mean? For a much better team to it was 27 games. A best of 27.
Oh, 27 for it to be like fair?
For it to be
considered
fair. For it to be fair. 27.
I believe it. I mean, baseball's weird, man. You play 162 games, and then it comes down to a 3-game set, and then a 5-game set, and it's weird. It's like you probably could have cut that, by the way, in half to 80-something games, and then done the same thing. It's that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. Baseball is a very weird sport like that.
Yeah. I mean, the single fairest thing that they did was also the single unfairest thing they did, which was that the National League champion faces the American League champion in the World Series. That used to be the playoffs.
Yeah.
There used to not be a league championship series. There didn't used to be divisions.
Yeah.
There used to be 2 tables, American League, National League. Team finished first. That's your World Series.
And remember, Tom Krasovic talked about that the other day. Getting to there in '84 was a different beast than getting there now.
Yeah, well,
they had more games.
They had to win 3 games to make the World Series.
Yeah. Now you didn't have that all those wild card spots, so maybe you're not in it unless you're, have obviously the 90+ wins or whatever. But still, it's a different beast now for sure.
It's a completely different beast. It's fun.
But it's also like it doesn't make any sense. It's like it's kind of also luck. It's kind
Billy
of like
Beane was
also...
right. No, honestly, he's been pilloried for it, and then his A's teams did him no favors by never actually winning in the playoffs. But he was completely right when he said the playoffs are just a crapshoot. They're without meaning. Great teams make the playoffs, and then they play these silly little series. And through these we played 2 games against each other. Now we've determined that I'm better than you. Really?
Yeah.
No, we played 162 games, which determined that I'm better than you. But now we're going to play 2 or 3 games, and that's going to be the thing that we actually walk away from.
Remember when they played the 1 game?
Yes.
162 games for 1 game.
Oh, my God.
That's all the
Pittsburgh. As Pittsburgh, they made that game 3 years in a row. They lost it all 3 years. They never touched the real
torture.
playoffs.
That's torture.
Yeah, the key, in McCutcheon's MVP years.
Yeah.
All they ever did, Garrett Cole and McCutcheon and everyone else, 1 game.
All those great years.
One game, trade the team.
I guess if you want to believe in the, the fates, the Padres have had a lot of things go their way, and they are playing great baseball. I mean, I will say it continues to be really hard to find holes in this Padres team, and sometimes we're a little myopic about that because we cover them every single day. But I think even looking at, I try to find with the Dodgers or the Diamondbacks reasons to be concerned for the Padres. But when you look at the state of their pitching staff or things like that, and then you compare it to the Padres, it's night and day. I mean, the Padres are in a much better situation. They're playing much more consistent baseball day in and day out, And so I think that, should work for you and your belief in yourself and what you're able to do. But you're right. You get a guy on just a bad day. You get a weird thing that happens. A fluke error that in any other game, it's not maybe the end of the world, but it's do or die then.
Good correction, Brandon, in the chat. I thought it was back-to-back years. Milwaukee had won it 2 years ago. St. Louis was the team that got bounced by Philadelphia. The point remains the 3rd seed has gotten bounced each year.
And
by
the
the
6th seed.
By the 6th seed.
Yeah.
The 6th seed in the National League has gone to the World Series each of the first 2 years.
How's the 4th seed done?
Let's see. The Padres, the Mets lost to the Padres.
That's right. They were the 4th seed. Okay.
Okay, and
that's
then
right.
Last year, let me think that through.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, I have to think it through.
All right, it doesn't really matter.
I kind of feel like maybe they lost last year too, but I'll go look it up.
It's so I hate asking that question because it's like, come on, every year is a new year. It doesn't mean what happened last year happens this year.
No, I mean of course not, but it does illustrate the point. The 4 seed won last year. Philadelphia took out Miami in 2 games.
Okay.
Miami was the 5 seed. Win a bar bet on that. Did the Marlins make the playoffs last year? Just that.
What a year for them. What a different year they've had. Yeah. Ask Tanner Scott. Ask Luis Arraez.
Yeah, 100%. And then Philly, as the 4 seed, went to the 1 seed and won. They beat Atlanta 3-1 last year. I got the little bracket up. Last year, the 4 seed in the American League lost. Texas went into Tampa and won 2 games in a row. And the year before that, of course, the Padres went into the 101-win Mets and won 2 out of 3 games and advanced.
It's a crapshoot, man, and it's part of what makes it exhilarating, and it's part of what makes it like nauseating at the same time, probably. So, but that's what you want. You want to be in the dance, and you want to be able to ride that ride.
Yeah, and that's why, again, just playing off the chat a little bit, I've just completely given up on the where would you rather finish game. You just want to have home games. period, because home games are better than road games.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who you play. It matters, but you can't line up for it, and you can't oh, well, we're going to actually strategically lose the last 3 games of the season so we can face Arizona in the playoffs. You're not going to do any of that stuff, and whenever an NBA team does something like that, they're always killed for it by the basketball gods. So you don't do any of that. You just keep your head down. You win the games that as Joe Musgrove said very well, you do what the game tells you to do every night. You play the game the right way, and then you look up and you see what happens.
Joe had some really good thoughts yesterday that maybe we can get to later in the show, but one of them, he was talking about that. I mean, look, they obviously want to be at home. They want to be at home for the playoffs, right? But if they're not, so be it. If they're not, they go out and they compete wherever they're at. So certainly these players want that, but you're not gonna sit around and whine about it or cry about it. Like, you're gonna go out there and you're just gonna give it your best shot wherever you are.
The Padres are 45-30 on the road. That is the best record, the best road record in the National League. No one is better. The Yankees in the American League are also 45-30. So the Padres are tied for the best road record in all of Major League Baseball.
Yes. So what does that make everyone? Should you want these to be on the road?
No, I don't think so. Because remember, at the beginning of the year, the Padres are 12-20 at home.
Yeah.
That's just one stat I remember. I'm not. There might have even been a worse split than that. But at one point, they were 8 games under. So now they're 41-35 at home, which means that's 6 over. So they've been playing 14 games over at home for a while now. So for months, Petco Park has been a great home field advantage.
Yeah.
It just at the beginning of the year, for the first 2 months, they couldn't win when the lights were on at Petco Park. Now that's completely turned around.
And they've skewed those numbers back to, and you know what? They said that at the beginning of the year. The left-handed hitting, the Petco Park numbers. It's a little skewed still, but if you look at the numbers, if you take the numbers since post All-Star break or the last few months, it's pretty normal, pretty average for what they've been doing consistently.
Padres have put themselves in great position. Magic number 7 to clinch a playoff berth. But you're almost to the spot where you control everything over Arizona, where they can't even get to you.
That's where you want to stay. You want to stay where they're out of reach.
We want you to stay right there, listening and watching Annie and Elsten. 12 o'clock, Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. Welcome back. It's Annie and Elsten, your midday hang. Halfway done with our remit today on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are contracted to go 10 till 2, and we've made it till 12, but we've got 2 hours left. That's when Matt Scraby and Tony Gwynn Jr. will step in for Scraby and Gwynn. Gwynn and Matt. Gwynn and Matt.
Oh, yeah, because Ello's on his cruise.
Ello is on a cruise.
Yeah, Gwynn and Matt. Gwynn and Scrapes.
Gwynn and Scraby.
Gwynn and
Gwynn and Matt? Yeah, I think usually we're one last name, one first name. Gwynn and Matt will be the show. It'll be great. You'll love it. Braden's going to be filling in next week.
I am.
You and Scrapes.
Yes.
Like Friday and then Monday through Thursday next week?
Friday, I'll be in Great Forks, North Dakota.
That's right. Thursday,
Enjoy
are you
those
filling in?
forks.
And then, starting next week, Monday
next
through
week, got it.
Thursday of next week, I will be on with Matt in the afternoon. And then that Friday of next week, I will be in Des Moines, Iowa.
You're just hitting all the heights.
Yeah, that's right.
North Dakota,
Yes.
Des Moines.
Great Forks. Des
Great
Moines.
Forks.
Let's go.
I've been
Is it
to
Great
Iowa
Forks?
before, so that's not a new place. I've been to Des Moines. Well, we flew into Des Moines and then drove up and stayed in Ankeny before a game in Ames,
Ankeny?
Iowa.
Is it Forks? Great Forks?
Great Forks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now you're going to make me look this up.
Confused with Great
And I'll do it
Forks.
while you play the bumper
Okay.
of the pizza place that has tiki drinks and has Chinese food pizza
Where's this?
in Des Moines. And I'll give you that recommendation after we play
I
this.
hope you get sushi in Des Moines.
Do you?
No thanks.
Fong's Pizza in Des Moines.
In Des Moines.
I went there myself. It's on 4th Street. It's in downtown. It's probably close to your hotel if you stay anywhere close to where the Gulls stayed downtown.
I might have to try it.
Yeah, like orange chicken pizza.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like crab rangoon pizza and tiki drinks. It's pretty cool.
Calling your
No
name.
recommendation for Grand Forks.
I haven't been.
Can't say anybody else has.
Been to
either.
Des Moines. There's also a really cool like Miller Lite pub in Des Moines. We could talk about it off the air. But right now, it's time to give you all the sports news as opposed to Des Moines food
Midwest
and drink
news.
recommendations.
I like the idea. It's getting sushi in Des Moines. Hey, here's our trout roll
Let us know how it is.
and our bass roll.
There's no place else that you get all the sports news, plus Des Moines, Iowa food and drink recommendations like the 12 o'clock sports fix. And here's Annie contributing to that with baseball news.
Well, the Mets got good news, not just about Grimace's purple seat yesterday, but about Francisco Lindor.
Still ridiculous.
Yes. His MRI came back clean. Lindor said he should start physical activity today or tomorrow, depending on how his back feels. He estimated he could return to the Mets lineup in the next 2 to 5 days. Said he assumes he will have to manage and tolerate pain whenever he does return. Taijuan Walker will make his return to the Phillies rotation on Thursday against the Mets, manager Rob Thompson told reporters. Philadelphia had moved the veteran righty to the bullpen at the end of August. He made 3 relief appearances, now coming back to the rotation. Guardians outfield prospect George Valera is headed for season-ending surgery. The 23-year-old sustained a ruptured patellar tendon in his right knee while trying to make a catch at the wall in AAA. The procedure comes with a 6 to 9 month recovery timetable, so it's likely he will open next season on the injured list. The Rockies are planning to activate right-hander Antonio Senzatella from the 60-day IL for his season debut on Monday against the Diamondbacks. Hey, maybe Bud Black doing some things here. The 29-year-old righty is poised to suit up for his 8th season in the big leagues, all of which have been spent in the Rockies organization. The Twins announced yesterday that they've claimed lefty Cole Irvin off waivers from the Orioles. They had designated him for assignment last week. Irvin will give the Twins some rotation depth for the final couple weeks of the season and can be controlled for 2 additional seasons via arbitration if the Twins choose. The Padres won Game 1 against the Astros yesterday. They will take Game 2 today with Hunter Brown on the mound for Houston and Michael King on the mound for San Diego. First pitch, 6:40 p.m. at Petco Park.
Here's Braden now with all the baseball scores for you.
Baseball scores
There he
from
is.
yesterday. Had it right up.
He's already looking up the sushi place.
Yeah, exactly. Trout roll. Padres over the Astros 3-1. Had a close one in Cleveland. Guardians and Twins. It was the Guardians over the Twins 4-3. Mets come back to beat the Nationals 2-1 in extra innings. They win in 10. Not good news for the Padres. Well, relatively not that bad of news because the Braves lost 9-0 to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So now all of a sudden the Braves are the team that are the odd man out. With that, the Padres' magic number is now 7. Tigers of the Royals 7-6. That look now, Tigers are inching closer to potentially making the postseason. Take a look at the standings in just a second. Cubs over the A's 9-2. Cardinals blank the Pirates 4-0. Brewers over the Phillies 6-2. Rockies beat the Diamondbacks 3-2. Good news for the Pods. And the White Sox are red hot right now. They just beat the Angels 8-4. In terms of the standings, we usually focus on the National League standings. Obviously, it's a lot more important than the American League standings for us. The Detroit Tigers are only a game and a half out of a wild
Glad
card
you're
spot.
getting into this. Yeah,
At 78
the
and
right spot for it.
73. Seattle 2 games out of a playoff spot behind Minnesota, and then Boston is now 4 games out of a playoff spot. Baltimore has the top wild card spot, 5-game advantage over the Twins, and a 2.5-game advantage over the Royals, who are in the number 2 spot. But the Tigers and Mariners creeping up again, as I mentioned yesterday. Royals, Twins, and Tigers all right there for playoff spots. All of them have only 1 loss each to the Chicago White Sox. I would imagine a lot of other teams are like, hey, wait a second. Like if the Boston Red Sox played the White Sox 13 times, do you think they'd be 75-75 right now?
No.
They'd probably be in a playoff
Yeah,
spot.
they have to play the Rays and the Blue Jays as bad teams in their division who are actually okay.
That's rough. The
Well,
White
I
Sox
tell you what.
screwing everything up, but they've won 3 in a row.
The whole thing is the Twins have been a streaky team all year. Remember, they had that 14-game winning streak.
Sausage.
They backed it up with a gigantic
sausage,
backed it up with a giant losing streak right after the winning streak, and they're in the wrong streak right now. And just as easily they could turn it around, win 8 in a row, and go to the playoffs. But right now, they're the team that's going to die out.
Right.
And I think it's pretty crazy to all of us who watched on Labor Day to think that the Tigers might actually be a playoff team.
Yeah, and are inching toward that direction. And these last few weeks going to be so pivotal for these teams, literally. But I didn't think that. I thought they were out of it. By the time the Padres were facing them, it seemed like they had hit their peak and were just kind of coming back down.
Yeah.
They've climbed over like a handful of teams. So Labor Day was what, the 2nd?
Yeah.
On Monday, September 2nd, the Tigers were 5 games out of a wild card spot. They were behind the Tigers. Seattle was 5.5 back. Now today, on September 17th, 1.5 games behind the Twins or the Tigers, and the Mariners are 2 games back in the wild card. The Mariners, for a long period of time during the last couple of months, had a better chance at winning the division than the wild card, and now it's flipped where the Astros have a 4-game lead on Seattle, and Seattle now only trails the Twins by 2 games in the wild card. So the wild card in the American League is starting to heat up a little bit. We'll see what the Tigers got in store. As Craig mentioned, Twins 3-7 in their last 10. So we don't spend a lot of time in the American League. There's no reason for us to, but that's an interesting race in the American League wild card just as much as it is in the National League wild card.
Yeah.
Just take a look.
And it
at Major League
wasn't
scores.
like that to start the season. It was pretty. The parity was pretty pretty big, and then it all changed halfway through the season.
Who's the mid-off now? American League.
Yeah.
Talking all
the
that
National League was so mid.
That's right.
And
so
now
mid.
the National League looks like the completely dominant.
It really
or just
does.
as dominant.
No, it really does.
Yeah.
American League talking that S. If the Padres were in the American League, they'd have the top wild card spot in the American League too, by the way.
Well,
who's the mid-off now?
Yeah.
National League, American League rival cities here. Goes Craig.
FAFO,
That's right. Yeah, you know what? 100%.
Let's get started on my segment with one of our local teams. The San Diego Seals took part in the 2024 National Lacrosse League draft on Sunday. They dealt their first-round pick for next year, 2025, in order to move up to the 9th overall selection, where they took Ohio State's team captain midfielder Trent DeChico. It was one of 3 first-round picks for the Seals, who also picked Jacob Power, with the 12th pick out of Belmont Abbey, which I believe season 3 airs on PBS. Oh, no, that's Downton Abbey.
It's Downton, yeah.
Sorry.
It does sound like a show that's streaming, though, somewhere.
Right? Here's the other one. With the 14th pick, they took Robbie Turpin out of Simon Fraser. Or did they take Simon Fraser out of Robbie Turpin? Not sure.
Simon Fraser, airing on TBS this fall.
Right.
It's like a Seinfeld Fraser match mix-up.
Simon Fraser, the younger brother of.
Yeah.
That is an ad that I see
Frasier
on
and
Sunday on CBS when they're watching the NFL, and all of a sudden the broadcasters or Jim Nantz goes, "Hey, be sure to tune in to Simon Fraser weekdays or Wednesdays at 8 o'clock."
If you love Fraser, you never met his younger brother,
Simon
Fraser.
Fraser.
Origins coming up this week on True
Wednesdays,
TV.
8, 7 Central, right here on CBS.
Oh, my God.
And then he's like flipping the football like the little actor in it.
So the Seals had 3 first-round picks this year. They'll have none next year. They had bolstered their draft warehouse after trading one of their best players in the offseason, Curtis Dixon, to Calgary. Yesterday, then, after the draft on Sunday, yesterday was the first day of NLL free agency, and the Seals were busy there, too. They made 2 major signings in a trade, signing forward Rob Hellier, a 12-year veteran with over 250 career goals from Las Vegas. Also forward Rob McIntosh, a former number 1 overall pick from Philadelphia. Then the Seals traded forward Jacob Dunbar to Ottawa in exchange for defenseman Zach Deacon. Seals fans, take note, adjust your depth charts. Seals open their season at home against the Philadelphia Wings on December 1st at Pechanga Arena.
Coming up.
Jordan Childs isn't done trying to get her bronze medal back from the Paris Olympics. The American gymnast filed a formal appeal with the Swiss Federal Tribunal yesterday. The Swiss Federal Tribunal. When you come in front of the tribunal, you must come correct, and you must curtsy and bow. At the tribunal.
Like at the top of the Alps or something.
It's long, just one stone staircase that just goes up and up into the clouds.
That's where they get their chocolate.
When you reach the top, you will find the tribunal.
Swiss hot chocolate.
And the Toblerone.
Well, they are hoping the Swiss Federal Tribunal overturns an earlier ruling from the Court of Arbitration for Sport that took away Child's bronze medal. If you remember this, she had an incorrect score that was then corrected during the floor exercise individual medal. They had basically calculated her degree of difficulty wrong. And it's strangely, it's not on the officials to get this right. When they screw it up, it's on the team to go, hey, you got it wrong. And every gymnast gets 4 minutes to go, hey, you got it wrong, except for the last gymnast in the rotation. They get 1 minute because they're the last one.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It's a stupid rule.
It's a stupid rule.
She's the last one.
And according to the
not her fault.
According to the Court of Arbitration for Sport,
that name is stupid.
Yeah,
Court of Arbitration for Sport.
Yeah, the old CAS. CYAS, more like it. They said that Childs was 7 seconds late. That she committed the crime of showing up 1 minute and 7 seconds in.
Technically, they can stand on that. They can stand on she was too late.
Right.
And they probably won't give her back the medal because of that.
Right.
But they should, and it sucks for her.
Right.
They should change the rule, and unfortunately, she'll probably still have to pay the price for that, but they should change the rule.
Child's attorneys also arguing that the CAS, Court of Arbitration for Sport, panel had a serious conflict of interest because the president of the Court of Arbitration for Sport was also the legal counsel to Romania.
Oh, this is a conflict of interest.
And, of course, the person awarded the bronze medal was Romanian Ana Barbosu.
Oh, no. Olympics, you're scarring they already have all the controversial awardee kind of whatever things,
Yes.
So don't let that is a conflict of interest. That's too close for comfort.
So that's why Child's attorneys are climbing the giant stone staircase into the sky, at top of which is the Swiss Federal Tribunal.
I wonder if when they leave, they say, would you like a piece of Toblerone on the way out?
Please enjoy this watch.
Well, I hope she gets it. I don't think she will, but I hope that it is overturned, but I don't think it will be, but it is still stupid.
Very briefly, in the NHL, an offseason of anxiety for Detroit Red Wing fans has been reduced as Lucas Raymond has agreed to terms on a new contract to stay in Detroit for the next 8 seasons. That's a maximum term deal. It'll earn him an annual cap hit of $8.75 million. Back to Braden for the football story.
Got a couple of football stories, one in college and one in the National Football League. We'll start with the college football, really college athletics news that we got. Air Force has emerged as a serious target to be added to the American Athletic Conference, sources told ESPN on Monday. Air Force had been referenced in conversations as a potential AAC add in recent months prior to the Pac-12 taking 4 Mountain West Conference schools last week. The AAC released a statement Monday night saying the league, quote, is a pioneering brand firmly grounded in grit and hard work with powerful and prestigious member institutions. In the past 5 months, we have prioritized seizing every opportunity that enhances value for our member institutions and student athletes. The AAC has 14 football schools this season, including Army and Navy. The league does not have any programs in this week's AP Top 25, but 3-0 Memphis, which defeated Florida State on Saturday, received the most votes of all unranked teams. Memphis apparently has had some talks with the Pac-12, potentially joining the Pac-12. So we'll see how long they are an AAC school. Tulane has had some of those prior conversations with the Pac-12 also, so there might be some trades going on between the two conferences. But Air Force in the American Athletic Conference, potentially with Army and Navy, can it get more American than that?
No, all American.
Commander-in-Chief Trophy brought to you by the American Conference. In the National Football League, the Steelers are preparing for Week 3 plan, but it's going to feature Justin Fields as quarterback number 1. For the 3rd week in a row, Steelers are readying for Justin Fields to start at quarterback Sunday as Russell Wilson continues to work through a lingering calf injury. Quote from Mike Tomlin, we're kind of in the same posture as we were in last week with Russ. As I sit here today, Russ is not scheduled to be a full participant in practice, and so we're readying a plan that features Justin and his readiness. Wilson was a limited participant in each practice last week and was inactive as he served as the emergency third quarterback in the win against the Broncos. Wilson, who initially injured his calf on the eve of training camp as he pushed a sled in a team conditioning test, hasn't fully participated in practice or played in the first 2 regular season games since aggravating his calf on September 5th. Expect Justin Fields probably to start for the Steelers on Sunday.
And I believe we are 3 Skylar Thompson interceptions away from the Russell Wilson to Miami trade.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, you think it's coming?
One just god-awful performance by Thompson.
One man's trash.
And Miami's going to be desperate. They're in win-now mode. They don't have a team that they can just go like, oh, big deal, we didn't win this year, we'll just wait till next year. No, with all the cap hits, with all the contracts they have on that team, they need to win. Yeah. So I do expect them. That was one of our bold things from Brady's football segment on Monday. But I would not be surprised. I think we're 3 Thompson interceptions away. Sorry, go ahead.
They spent a ton of money on position players and not linemen, and now they're in cap hell.
Whoops.
Usually doesn't work out for teams like that, but we'll see what the Dolphins could do.
Your 12 o'clock sports fix for September 17th, 2024. We still have the match game to come this hour, but up next, volume 94 of Annie and Elsten Get Confused Over College Football's crazy realignment. Here's a headline for you as a tease. How about the University of Tennessee passing on name, image, and likeness to their fans via taxation? Yes, stay tuned for that.
Oh, this never ends.
No taxation without representation.
On the defensive line, apparently.
That's right.
Annie and Elsten back with that story and more next on The Fan. as you'd expect, Annie and Braden and I have a group chat, and one of the regular things that happens in that group chat is that Braden finds a story about college sports in 2024 and drops it in and gets the exclamation point reaction. And then I'm like, okay, there's our 12:20 segment for tomorrow. And so it has happened again, Braden. Let's start with the University of Tennessee and how name, image, and likeness is now being passed right along to the Volunteer fans.
So this is the latest that just came out this morning on ESPN, but Brett McMurphy had it first, at least that I saw on social media. And what's believed to be the first arrangement of its kind, Tennessee fans for all sports will be charged a 10%, quote, talent fee on tickets to help pay athletes as part of the new revenue-sharing plan set to begin in 2025.
It's like when you go to a restaurant and they add on the
tip?
Correct.
the tip. Yeah.
Gratuity.
I love that they called it a talent fee, though.
Talent fee.
Yeah.
The university shared the news with football season ticket holders via email Tuesday, which included an impassioned 4-minute video of athletic director Danny White telling fans the talent fee and other strategies were, quote, part of an extensive plan to continue our dominance in college athletics and build something like never seen before. In addition to the 10% increase on all ticket invoices, season tickets, and single game purchases, as well as donations for those seats, Tennessee will add an average increase of 4.5% on all football tickets. In this era of name, image, and likeness, quotes, there has never been as close a connection between resources and competitive success, said White, noting that Tennessee had captured the last 3 SEC all-sports trophies. Quote, we want to be the leader in college sports. That means we want to be a leader in revenue sharing. The NCAA revenue sharing plan, scheduled to begin in the fall of 2025, is part of a settlement between the NCAA and power conferences in the House versus NCAA case that would allow schools to share up to $22 million of their annual revenue with athletes. In preparing for those added costs, schools are becoming increasingly creative in how to raise money, and many college leaders believe the revenue sharing model recently proposed is only the beginning, with collective bargaining coming at some point. Here's some financial data for you. Most recent financial data available, Tennessee football program turned a $75 million profit in 2023 after $134.9 million in revenue and $60 million in expenses. At most of the larger schools around the country, football is the engine that helps fund many other sports. The Vols have a streak of 15 consecutive sellouts at Neyland Stadium that led the SEC in total home attendance in 2023. 713,000 fans, an average of 101,000 per game. For 2 straight seasons, Tennessee has sold all 70,000 of its season tickets, 70,500 of its season tickets, and White said there's a waiting list of 15,000. I can attest to that because we were thinking about getting season tickets for Tennessee for the future just because my brother's an alum. The waiting list to get those tickets are absurd, and there's tons of people paying, and if there's that many people paying to go watch the Tennessee Vols, then they're going to increase the ticket prices because it's a hot commodity. But it's very interesting and setting an interesting precedent for college athletics.
I think they're in desperate times call for desperate measures. I mean, just listening to even some of the universities around San Diego talk, how are you going to stay competitive in this market? And it's not palatable, I don't think, to hear that. It's not, they're a talent fee and raising the ticket prices, but I think that you're kind of at a point where you got to make some hard decisions here to try to stay competitive. It's what do you do? I mean, even venture capitalists have now come into the conversation.
There's some other things on here. The Tennessee Fund, which is their big NIL thing, raised $140 million last calendar year, the highest total in athletic department funding history. University also announced in August that it entered into a lucrative 20-year partnership with Knoxville-based Pilot, which is a gas station company. That includes the Pilot logo being featured on the Neyland Stadium playing field. They're making so much money over there.
Yeah,
they almost have to just give it away to the players. I mean, the only reason why they're doing this much is because they're making so much, and it's still, it's not like it's like a 50-50 split. The university's probably making so much money, and all of these players over there are making so much money. But as you point out, with our local college, they'll never be able to compete with that. I mean, that's like going against the Yankees before
Yeah, there's
luxury
no chance.
taxes. It's like going against the San Francisco 49ers before the salary cap.
My
Okay, hang
point
on.
is that they're just trying to find all the ideas, right? Like, they're
Oh
trying
yeah,
to
all
figure
these,
it out. Yeah.
especially the big, like Tennessee is a school that their entire state roots for that school to an unhealthy, passionate level.
Okay, this little light bulb just went bing. If you were watching on YouTube, you could see it. It was like ding, 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 right
Craig
above
was
my
like,
head.
Did you see it, Brady?
Hang on.
I saw it on the
I was
video.
like in the back of the 8th grade class. Excuse me, may I please? Okay, so Tennessee is doing this in the SEC,
Correct.
right? Tennessee is in the biggest conference in the universe. They already have a completely full stadium. They already have the flotilla of boats out there before every game.
The Vol Navy, they call it.
Vol Navy, there it is. They already have the waiting list. They already have all of this. And they need a 10% talent fee to try and keep up
Right.
in NIL.
That's what I'm saying.
With Alabama and with everybody else, with Georgia, with everybody
Not
else.
necessarily for the local schools here to keep up with them, but like in your own sphere, how are you keeping up?
Right. So now, last week, Braden, you were pretty critical, and I was right there alongside you, saying the Aztecs going to the 6-pack, leaving the Mountain West, but they had a shot at the Big 12, that they kind of fumbled the bag by not taking that shot at the Big 12. As you are reading this story, like a little mini J.D. Wicker was popping up on my shoulder going, do you see now, Craig? Do you see why? Because they would be fighting, not SEC level, but they'd be fighting with every Big 12 school that is raising their 10% talent fee for their giant 67,000-seat stadium that's full every day. And meanwhile, the Aztecs are here trying to draw 13,000 people to Snapdragon Stadium to come see a game, and they're completely outclassed, whereas they are in a class with 5 universities right now that are like-sized, like-minded, like-budgeted.
And they're going to be left behind and be in Division II in the next 10 years at this rate. I mean, that's what it's going to be, which is unfortunate. I mean, they just built a brand new stadium down here, and they're going to get left behind. And you know who else is going to get left behind? Probably most of the Big 12 schools, too. I mean, the way this is going, until they put in a collective bargaining agreement, it's so out of control. And it really goes to... And I say this all the time because it mattered most with TV. All these conference realignments are all based on TV deals, right? And what gets the best TV deals? The best teams or the teams with the biggest fan bases that have the most eyeballs? The teams with the biggest fan bases are the ones that are continuing to progress up this leaderboard of just professional college-age kids football. And the thing is, it's just all the money continues to be put on the fans. And if you're that passionate in Tennessee and want to spend all your money to go to Tennessee Volunteers games, I mean, people are going to do it. But we're just continually pricing average people out of the sports world. And it was out of the professional world, and now it's going to college. Yeah. And soon, I know this eventually.
We've seen that happen locally.
I mean, if you're like a family, right? You want to take your kids to a sporting event, you should go to a high school game now. Mm-hmm. And then that's going to get popular. And then all of a sudden it's just going to be like, let's just go watch youth. Let's just watch you play, I guess. Because, I mean, this is going to get so out of hand that all the families that couldn't afford professional sports that would go to college sports are now going to be like, well, I can't go to college sports anymore. So everybody seems to be moving up a level in terms of this craziness of paying everybody all this money.
We'll get to another story a little bit later in the show because there's knock-on effects too. Because all of this, all of the concentration of these athletic departments is on 2 sports. It's on football and it's on men's basketball.
But men's basketball is still an afterthought behind the football, which is like the forefront.
It's about football, 20 miles of dirt, men's basketball, 50 miles of concrete. Women's basketball and every other sport.
And then everything else.
And then every other sport. But guess what? The decisions that are made to benefit football and kind of men's basketball have direct knock-on effects on the other programs inside an athletic department. We'll bring you an example of that in the 4th hour of the show that is literally comical.
That was a fun little graphic, though.
Ridiculous, yes. It is. And that's still to come in the show. But up next, it's time to play silly games. And today, it's Match Game Tuesday. Time for some fun. It's Match Game Tuesday, everybody. Here's what we're doing. We're assembling our all-star celebrity panel. On the right, Greg is around, Adam's around, Annie and Braden are here. So all we need is you now. We need 2 contestants to play the match game. Not 1, but 2. It means we have a guaranteed winner. Somebody is going to advance and be entered into our end-of-the-month grand prize drawing for a 2-night stay at Wynn or Encore Las Vegas and 2 tickets to see Awakening, the thrilling spectacle at Wynn Las Vegas. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. Lines are open now. We're looking for 2 contestants, and when we come back, we'll play the match game with you on the Fan. Awakening, the thrilling spectacle at Wynn Las Vegas dazzles audiences with soaring aerialists, bounding acrobats, high-energy choreography, and comedic moments. At the heart of this compelling story, a hero must confront the forces of light and darkness in a quest to save the world. A mythic adventure unfolds, set amid the most technologically immersive theater ever designed. Tickets are on sale now at awakening.com. That's the read for part of our grand prize this month. I mean, this is such a grand prize. We got a 2-night stay at Wynn or Encore Las Vegas, and then 2 tickets to see that show, Awakening.
Great prize.
With the light and the darkness and the comedy and the acrobats and the aerialists and the technologically immersive theater.
I think you were in the show, Greg, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
short
so-
stint there at the beautiful Wynn in Las Vegas.
Amazing. Which part was yours?
I was the guy flipping around on this
The
thing.
aerialist.
Yeah, the aerialist.
The
That was me.
aerialist.
Yeah, that was me.
The soaring aerialist.
Don't ask me to spell it either, okay?
Oh,
Well, it is time for today's silly game, and you can tell we got the all-star panel here. We're ready to play the match game. Oh, hello. Thank you. Wasn't looking. Get ready to match the stars. Annie Heilbrunn.
Hello.
Adam Klug.
Thanks for having me back.
On the Red Gray.
Hello, hello.
Braden Soprenin.
What's up?
And I'm your host, Gene Rayburn. This is Match Game 97-3, your opportunity to match the stars and win great prizes. We have 2 contestants that are on the line right now. Let's meet contestant number 1. She is Michelle in Oceanside. Hello, Michelle. Welcome to the Match Game.
Hi. Good afternoon. Thank you.
Great to have you here, Michelle. Before we go any further, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have been the Padres fan, and we have our own breakfast. I'm always in the car listening to you guys.
Thank you, Michelle.
It's great to have you here,
Yeah.
Michelle. We appreciate you. You are contestant 1. You are going against contestant number 2. That is Danny in Spring Valley. Hi, Danny. Welcome to the Match Game.
Hello.
Hi, Danny. Tell us a little
How you
bit
doing?
about yourself, man.
Lived in San Diego since I was 4 years old, and huge Padre fan.
Ding.
Go Padres.
Go Padres. All right, Michelle and Danny, today you are here to play the match game. It is very simple, and it works like this. We're going to play it in 2 rounds. In each round, each one of you will get 1 question. When you pick which question you get, I will then read the prompt to our all-star panel. You will be quiet as the music plays and they write their answers. Then I'll come back to you, read you the same prompt, and get your answer. Every time you match one of our celebrities, you get 1 point. And at the end of 2 rounds, and potentially a tiebreaker, whoever has the most points is today's qualifier, and you'll go into the hopper at the end of the month. Does it all make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Great. Michelle, you called in first. You are contestant number 1. So in round 1, you get the option. Would you like question A or would you like question B?
A.
A it is. All right, panelists, here we go. Round 1, question A. Lock in.
I feel like we need a disclaimer.
It's a great call. That's why we keep the boss around here, is just a little quick reminder that all characters who appear in Match Game 97-3 questions are 100% and entirely fictitious, and any resemblance to anybody living or dead is entirely coincidental.
Just protecting the station. It's all good.
Smart move. Smart move.
Smart man.
Here we go. Round 1, question A. Lock in. Action Jackson credits his newfound power to a daily breakfast of blank. Action Jackson credits his newfound power to a daily breakfast of blank. The panelists will let me know audibly when they have finished.
Ready.
There's Braden. There's Adam.
Ready.
There's Annie. And the man wearing the Country's Cool Again hat, autographed it appears to be.
Indeed, it is.
I didn't autograph it. Who?
Lainey Wilson.
Oh,
wow.
Seems better.
I didn't shave the dome today, so I wasn't camera ready.
I think your hat is camera ready.
Thank you.
Our panelists are ready. So, Michelle, we come back to you. Action Jackson credits his newfound power to a daily breakfast of
Wheaties.
Wheaties. That's a great classic answer there,
Good
Michelle.
answer. Good answer.
Eats his Wheaties, gets his bombs.
I think you're going to get a match. It's not me. I said fastballs.
Daily diet of bath. Just eating fastballs for breakfast.
Yes.
I like that. That's funny.
Like
I'd like to go on
fastballs.
the record and say I'm sitting next to Annie, and when she wrote hers down and I wrote mine down, I looked at hers and go, I like her answer more than mine.
But your answer.
But my answer is Wheaties.
Yay!
matches.
That's a match. I think Michelle likes your answer more than hers.
That's right.
I bet.
And she
Let's go on to
should.
Greg.
I said fresh fruit.
Fresh fruit. Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah,
Very
thank you. Very
Healthy
health conscious
there.
today.
Healthy.
Thank
Wonderful,
you.
wonderful.
Well, since
21.
his last name is since his name is Jackson, I went with Flapjacks.
Flapjack.
Flapjack.
I like that. I like that. All right. Good job, panel. 4 good answers.
A match.
And a match. I think you guys did really
I'm
well.
here for you.
Right there. Michelle, congratulations.
Man
You
of the
got 1
people.
point. Now we turn back to Danny. Danny, it's your turn. So stay there quietly as we read round 1, question B.
Lock in.
Panelists are locked in. The silly Strohs used to bang on trash cans for signals. Now they've resorted to banging blank.
Pause. Pause.
Exactly the intended response for this question. I was waiting just for that nervous moment. The silly Strohs used to bang on trash cans for singles. Now they've resorted to banging blank.
I'm gonna be more family friendly this time.
All right, ready.
I'm ready.
Ready.
And awaiting one more.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Danny. Danny, it's
novel
back
over
to
here.
I
you.
was gonna say.
Danny, it's back to you. The silly Strohs used to bang on trash cans for signals, not to be confused with singles. Also, they got some singles off those signals. Resetting. The silly Strohs used to bang on trash cans for signals. Now they've resorted to banging
Their chests.
their chests.
That's a good one.
Don't take off my shirt.
I have banging their heads against the wall at Petco Park.
Oh, I like that.
Wow.
It's a
good
long
one.
Very
answer. Very specific.
Without knowing what's coming and banging home runs, now they're banging foul balls.
Banging
yeah,
foul
that works
balls.
too.
I like that. I like that.
Now they're banging on the benches.
Oh, banging the bench.
Instead of trash cans, I put recycling bins.
Oh, there you go.
Very
Yeah. Yeah.
eco-conscious.
That's right.
Exactly.
They're in
I knew it was
California
one of
now.
those words.
A blue bin.
It's more of a Green Day cheating than it is a regular day cheating. Well, Danny, that's okay. No matches there in round 1 for you, but you're only down 1-0. And because you are contestant number 2, you get the choice in round number 2. Would you like question A or question B?
I'll take A.
Question A, it is. All right, panelists, Danny needs at least 1 match to stay in the game. So
Okay.
let's lock in.
Okay.
Dave said, "You can't trust anyone around here. Last night I got mugged by my own blank." Dave said, "You can't trust anyone around here. Last night I got mugged by my own blank." Panelists will let me know when they are done.
Done.
Shouldn't this contestant go second so that we can stay alive?
Well,
for...
no, the contestant B goes first in the second round.
Locked in.
I'm in.
Locked.
Good luck.
I'm just counting on you guys.
Godspeed.
I'm counting on you guys. All right, Danny.
Who's
back
Dave?
just Dave.
Okay.
Dave said.
You don't know Dave?
Bears a slight resemblance to the manager of the team up north, perhaps.
Dave. Hey, Dave.
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 Okay.
Love your show, Dave. That's an old radio poll. If you know that one out there, that was for you. Okay, Danny, back to you. Dave said, "You can't trust anyone around here. Last night I got mugged by my own
Friend.
friend."
Oh, such a good answer. Unfortunately, I had grandma.
Oh,
They got mugged by his
his own
grandma?
grandma.
She's
Yes.
rusty.
hey, you can't trust anyone around
Can't trust
here.
anyone, right?
I think that's a good answer. All right, Adam, we're looking for friend.
The people who let him down when it's the most important time of the year, his players.
Players.
Are they friends?
Dave got mugged by my starting pitcher.
Total coincidence, though.
Yeah.
Greg.
I said a child.
Your own child.
That's a good answer.
But his dog mugged him.
No.
Come on, dog.
Dog turned on him.
Oh, dog.
Come on, dog.
Well, that's going to be a no from me, dog. No matches for Danny, and that means, Michelle, you're today's winner
Yay.
of the match game.
Congrats, Michelle.
Michelle, Wheaties potentially earns you a trip to Las Vegas.
And Adam.
How do you feel about that?
How's it make you feel?
I feel good. I think I'm going to go buy a box and
Yeah, go
Good
celebrate.
call.
Wow.
Would
we're all
you
eating that in Vegas.
do you have anything to say to the one panelist who vibed with you, our boss, the esteemed Adam Klug?
I like you. You have very good mind.
Go Padres. How about that?
I like you? Question mark.
I like you. I think.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Exactly.
Thanks for playing, Michelle.
Thanks,
Michelle, stay right there on the line. Braden will get all your information during the commercial break, so make sure that you stay right there. Greg, great work.
Thank you.
Adam, great work.
Thanks as always.
Appreciate everybody for being a part of the match game.
Appreciate you, Craig.
And you know what's the best part about when we have a 3-question match game? Means I get to save one for next week.
Wow.
Oh, put it in the hopper.
One less thing to worry about.
One less thing for me to worry about
Mm-hmm.
come next Tuesday when I'm sitting there at the breakfast table going, I need to write 4 match game questions. And then I go, nope, 3.
It's going to be a beautiful thing.
And then I just turn
It's
on
like when you
match
get your
game.
homework done the night before, not the morning of.
Well, sometimes you can't.
I was a big morning of guy, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes you got to watch match game and then write them
Get some inspiration.
or just steal
Yeah.
directly.
Either way.
You're like, that's a good one. Let me type that down. Doot, 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 doot. In fact, Dave said you can't trust anyone around here. Last night I got mugged by my own blank. It aired, I think, like January 8th, 1976
Whoa.
on Match Game. You could look it up.
Beautiful.
All right,
Sounds like
guys.
it.
Great work. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you next week. When we come back, it's the 4th and final hour of our Tuesday get-together on Annie and Elsten. And included therein, got some interesting stuff that, Annie, you got out of the clubhouse yesterday.
I'll give you a little clubhouse chatter.
Little Annie
Yeah,
clubhouse
a little
chatter.
clubhouse chatter.
I like that. Plus, we've got a Game 2 preview for the Padres and the Astros still to come as San Diego tries to take another series from another playoff-bound team. We'll look also at the matchups of the games that we're going to be feverishly watching on our phones or our laptops or second screening somehow as the race for October continues. All that still to come. And we'll wrap up our 4th and final hour with Ask Us Anything, your chance to call in to the show. One last tease during this next hour, and in fact, during this next segment, we're going to be giving away a pair of tickets to tomorrow's Padres-Astros series finale, Fernando Tatis Jr. Platinum Glove bobblehead giveaway night. 40,000 Platinum Glove bobbleheads to be delivered to La Gente. You better get there on time in order to grab a bobblehead, but we're going to give away 2 tickets. That will be toward the end of our next segment. So stay there, dear listeners. It's Annie and Elsten here with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Back after this.
Final hour of the Annie and Elsten show here on a Tuesday. 97.3 The Fan, San Diego's #1 sports station, taking you through until 2 p.m. when we'll turn the reins over to Gwynn and Matt Scraby, and then some Padre baseball later on today.
Can't wait. This has just been so fun. You know, every day coming in the beginning of the year, game under, 2 under, 2 over, 1 over. We're splashing around in that pool for the longest time, having no idea what the final destination was for this team. And to see what's happened in this second half, to see the level to which the team is committed to one another, and then the success that has come out as a result. And finally, to see a full-strength team. And I'm going to knock Formica when I say that, because Luis Arraez may not be in today's lineup. For all we know, Jason Adam might not be available tonight after tweaking his ankle a little bit out there on the mound. But in the last month, the return of Joe Musgrove, the return of Fernando Tatis Jr., the return of Yu Darvish, and now to see last night Darvish pitching like Yu Darvish pitched in 2015, 2019, 2021, pitching like that ace that we know he is. It just fills you with so much excitement and optimism knowing that, there's 11 games left in this year, but when those 11 games are done, there's going to be more.
Yeah, they've definitely been doing their part. And I think it's also been cool because they're getting the feeling of winning, right? Like you're creating this feeling of winning and of being part of a winning team. And think about the rookies out there, the players out there that have yet to experience that in their career, right? And you've got guys like Jackson Merrill experiencing it their first year in the big leagues and what that can set you up for going forward, always wanting to go back to it and taste it and understanding what it takes to get to that point. Not just for Jackson, but for other guys in the clubhouse as well. Like you're always chasing that feeling. And most of the guys in there have had years where they're not in the playoffs and years where they are. So it's good to create that and to know what that feels like so you can pull on that in future years.
Padres win yesterday 3-1. And pitching is carrying this team into the playoffs. It's one of the first things that we said on this show. We said this team will go as far as its starting pitching takes them. Obviously, A.J. Preller was very mindful of that, trading for Michael King, trading for Dylan Cease, making the move for Martin Perez at the deadline, because a couple of the starters that helped carry this team in the first half of the season are no longer contributing to this club. But that was because Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove were out. Now they're back, and now they look like themselves. Yeah. And it truly raises the ceiling for what this club can accomplish.
Yeah, that's been huge for them. And you're getting the guys back. You're getting a healthy team at the right time. Missing a few pieces. You'd hope to have Ha-Seong Kim back and hopefully, like you said, Luis Arraez. But look, you're pretty well situated. You got your big guys back, not just by the time for the postseason, but with a month to go so that they could actually get their feet under them and build themselves up to a good spot and where they're feeling comfortable as well.
Tonight, terrific matchup. Michael King against Hunter Brown. If you missed it, Michael King had a cool interview with Ben and Woods earlier this morning as well. Very much enjoyed that, but that was done down in the dugout yesterday. And, of course, Annie, you were at the game yesterday and down in the clubhouse as well.
Yes, and just kind of touching on that point, I'll talk a little bit about what Joe Musgrove said and also Manny Machado. But Joe was asked a little bit about playoffs 2 years ago and feeling that energy building with fans again. And he said, it's more consistent level of baseball this year. He said, we're as players, we weren't just always players. We were fans before we were players. And we're not blind to what it's like to be part of a team that has struggles and ups and downs. As a fan, you want consistency, right? You want to feel a little bit of comfort, he said, in knowing the product you're going to get every night, especially when you're coming out and you're spending money and bringing the family out. So he kind of acknowledged we've got a more consistent team this year. We've got a team that knows who they are, playing a more consistent brand of baseball. And fans, when they come out, kind of know what they're getting a little bit more. And that's kind of what they're trying to build here, is that acknowledgement to the fans. Hey, we get it. We know what it's like. And it's not always going to be that way. I mean, you're not going to hit on it 100% of the time. It's going to get streaky at times. But just to be able to acknowledge, you're spending your hard-earned money, and we also want to bring you a more consistent product if we can. So I thought that was pretty cool. He also talked about the time of the season, how while parts of it have flown by, you can still kind of look back on a certain day in June or whatever in Cincinnati and how that kind of feels like yesterday. But he, in terms of where the guys are at, in terms of how they broke out after the All-Star break, said for the pitching staff, you physically start to feel at your best after the All-Star break. Mid-season, you've got your feet under you. You're able to have a lot more reps under you. Your body's starting to feel that rhythm of the season, and you're starting to get better as the season goes. And Mike Schultz talks about that all the time. But look, for them, we've seen that, right? I mean, for a lot of these pitchers, they've hit their stride mid-season, and they maybe had a few bumps along the road, but they're feeling their best kind of mid-season when they've really kind of settled into themselves.
That's really interesting in terms of how Major League Baseball has changed over the years and over the decades. It used to be that I remember this when I was a kid, starting pitchers throwing complete games in spring training.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even kidding. I remember, the Dodgers are warming up in the last week, and Tom Cantiotti threw 8 innings down in Vero Beach back in those days. But, that was a thing that would happen. Randy Johnson would throw 9 innings in a spring training game. Nowadays, the best Major League starters in general, with a couple of exceptions, they spend their whole spring training getting ready to throw 5 or 6 innings on opening day, right? So whereas it used to be kind of an axiom that they feel their best at the beginning of the year and they're going to progressively get worse as the year goes on, maybe it's a totally different thing thanks to training and different styles in baseball.
Which is kind of what you think, right? And we've heard with the bullpen especially, your arm fatigues. It's just a downward slope starting from the beginning of the season. The first game of the season on, and you're just going downhill kind of, right? But maybe that is the case because that's what Joe said is your body's fully adjusted to the 5-day schedule. You are coming off of some extra rest with the All-Star break. So that little bump of rest gets you in a better spot. And then your arm has kind of fully adapted to the throwing that you're giving it, So, I'm sure that's also not a perfect science, but I do think that's important to remember, for future years too. Sometimes it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit, just like we talk about with the NFL. It takes a little bit for these teams to figure themselves out. Sometimes the whole first month of the season, and it's kind of the same way in any sport, I think. It doesn't always click right away. You got to kind of give it some time to formulate. Manny Machado, some really good stuff from him too. Talked a lot about Donovan Solano and David Peralta. So did Joe about just the additions they've been in the clubhouse. But asked Manny about his elbow, and I think this is important to point out. And by the way, Manny had a scoring change today, so he has hit 100 RBI.
Okay, I was just I saw that in the chat, but I was trying to look for it.
I saw it on Twitter somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, at least that's what I saw on Twitter. But that the scoring change. Hopefully that's right. Who knows?
I'm gonna check Manny RBI.
If not, we just gave Manny his 100th RBI.
Yes,
Jesse Agler
Oh,
had
good.
it.
Okay, yeah, we can trust Jesse on that. So congratulations to him on that. But he's also going to get the Roberto Clemente kind of on-field award ceremony before the game this week, which is cool. But asked him about his elbow. So I think it's so important to remember with Manny, he is not fully healed. And he said, look, yes, this offseason is going to be great, right? Because I'm going to allow my arm to fully rest itself again. That means that essentially, look what he's been doing this year. And it's not fully healed. He didn't get the full offseason. He didn't get the full rehab, the full spring training he wanted. So to have now an offseason where he can do things the way he normally is accustomed to, and he takes care of his body in such a great way, what a great thing for Manny to have undergone this surgery. And he mentioned this. Not a lot of Major League Baseball players have gotten this surgery. It's like a tennis elbow type surgery. I don't know the exact specifics, but it's not a surgery that a lot of MLB guys get. And so he said there was a question mark in my mind. Am I going to come back at full strength? The doctor said you might be missing this. You might be missing that. There might be some things that change in you. And that was a risk for him to take that surgery and to go, okay, let's get this done and let's try to make sure I come back the same or even better. And so far it's paying off. He said, look, there's still ups and downs. The cold bothered him in San Francisco, but he was able to work through that. So he's still feeling this with his elbow. But I thought just kind of important to kind of note, this was a surgery that there were a lot of question marks around. He's happy with the way it turned out. It's obviously working for him right now. And then on top of it, he's going to get a full off season and come into spring training fully rested, just like Tatis did after getting his surgeries on his shoulder, having that full off season where you can train the way you want to, you can rehab the way you want to, you can go into spring training and have a full spring training, really sets you up well to come out of this thing on a good note.
Manny Machado, 277, 26 homers, 100 RBI with 11 games left to go.
Yeah.
So an outstanding chance to get to 30. Obviously, the 100's already there. 107 is his career high, so an outstanding chance to get his career high in runs batted in. Now, keep in mind that on June 19th, this guy had 6 homers. I believe it was 6 homers and 30 ribs.
Working back from a rehab. Still rehabbing his elbow and working back from a surgery.
And here he is now.
Yeah.
Here he is now. Almost to 3 WAR on the year, up to 2.7. There was a long time, believe me, I was hearing it in the hot tub community for a long time. Padres hot tub, not the folks at the state fair, which I'm sure is a community. They set up at every county fair, right?
Yeah.
Just selling them hot tubs back and forth.
I wonder if they'd allow you to just go sit in there and do your podcast.
I mean,
Probably.
be willing to ask.
Yeah, probably.
That's actually a great idea.
It is. Just
Hot
hop
tub
around from
podcast in the
hot
hot
tubs to
tub.
hot
Yeah.
tubs
At the fair.
at different
At the fair.
exhibition halls.
At the fair. That's the key. I think that's a great call.
And surgery takes time to heal from.
Yes.
It just takes time, and you got to give it that, and you got to also let it heal the right way. And he could have sat out. Maybe he could have sat out a little longer, but why? He knew he had to kind of get things going, and you figure. Look, Manny says all the time, which I believe him on. Nobody really understands what everybody in that clubhouse is playing through. We don't know all the injuries that every guy has and all the nicks and bruises and, just kind of less than 100% feelings that they're having, because they are. And so, but, you know a little, you see a little here and there, right? Even Arraez with his thumb or what Fernando's been playing through or whatever it is. And it gives you, you got to give a lot of credit to just being able to kind of push through some of this, especially when you see that carrot at the end of the stick for them, which is the postseason.
Now, the player of note from yesterday was Luis Arraez, who banged his knee into home plate trying to score on a Profar hit. By the way, we haven't mentioned that Jerks and Profar had 4 hits, including a double and a homer yesterday, and is now completely out of that 20-something game cold snap that he was in. He's hitting close to 400 for around a dozen games since. So incredible to see him kind of. And what did he talk about over the weekend, Annie? He talked about the last month he was spending so much time in the trainer's room because of the patellar tendonitis in his knee that he was being restricted to 10 or 20 swings before a game instead of, remember at the beginning of the year, he was like, the big key is I'm taking a full left-handed and a full right-handed batting practice, and that's why I'm more locked in than I used to be. And then he had lost that for a month where he could barely swing because he was spending so much time working on his knee in the trainer's room.
Yeah, and remember, he's got to work both sides. He's got to work his right side and his left side with hitting, which is always a fascinating conversation with him, right? Because it's a different priority for him than other guys, but absolutely, to be spending that time in the training room, not to be getting the practice swings in that you're used to or maybe that is your routine, and these are such routine-oriented guys, it's got to have an effect. And remember, too, he is playing through a knee issue, and he will downplay it, but he is still having a knee that's barking at him every so often or most days, and so good for him to see him pop out of that. 4 hits yesterday. That home run was fantastic. He and Fernando and Manny and Luis Arraez, they were all part of the BP group before the game, and they were hitting bombs. I mean, they were hitting to like the farthest ends of the stadium, and they were kind of having a little competition with themselves, and I think it was a lot of fun, kind of set themselves up for a good day.
Well, back to Arraez. We have no new information as of 1:15 on the Padres flagship about the day-to-day status of Arraez, but I think it's important to note that after the game, he was talking about being in today's lineup. Whether or not he is in today's lineup or not, it's a far cry from where Ha-Seong Kim was a few Sundays ago with a jammed shoulder. I heard the guys in the morning go, uh-oh, jammed shoulder, jammed knee. Like, is it going to be the same thing? Is he out forever? I don't think it's the same thing because Arraez came up the next time, hit a ball that wound up being a double, and even though, he was hobbling, he ran to second base. Like, he didn't go to first and get sniped and drop. He ran to second base. So whether he misses a game,
you're right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
he made it to second.
Yeah.
He didn't like crumble down and roll.
Right. I mean, literally, we've seen Profar crumple on the
Yeah,
ground.
it's not a good feeling.
And be back a day or two later
Yeah.
this year. So, being that he is generally a DH for this team now and really not a position player, especially in the current setup where Solano is playing first base all the time, you know, I would say maybe he misses a game. Maybe he misses at most a couple of games and is back on Friday. But I wouldn't be shocked if that lineup comes out during Gwynn and Scrabes and it's Arraez batting first at DH.
Yeah, and that'll be the best news for them because that means whatever happened is kind of like more of a surface injury or, you know, something that's not too serious. Again, maybe a pain tolerance thing. So hopefully that's the case.
Still to be determined as we work toward a 6:40 first pitch. But when we come back, we continue with some Padres talk, taking a look at our Game 2 pitching matchup, and we got to get to that second story from college sports that we punted at 12 o'clock to stay on clock, because how about a women's college volleyball team traveling the same distance, just about the same distance as the San Diego Padres for their season?
Oh, no.
For their season. Yeah, literally. The numbers when we come back and this story. You won't believe it. It's Andy and Elsten, your midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. for 97.3 The Fan's commercial-free Padres Roundtable, featuring Ben and Woods, Annie and Elsten, and Gwen and Chris, presented by San Diego Roundtable Pizza. For takeout or delivery, go to roundtablepizza.com. Roundtable, the last honest pizza.
We have a roundtable on Thursday.
Indeed.
Yes, we do.
Looking forward to it. The pizza. I mean, also the roundtable. I mean, the roundtable's great. Enjoy the
Yeah.
conversation.
The round table.
The roundtable.
The pizza is also good. I hope they bring back the cookies and not the churro twists.
Oh, you're
this
putting it out
week.
there.
Just
Yeah.
just throwing it out in the universe.
A little hint for
The cookie bag's good.
everyone listening.
Churro twists, no bueno.
No bueno.
No bueno. Can't get everything, Not everything's going to be a home run. We were just talking about some of the amazing things the Padres have been overcoming along the way here to now be 21 games over 500, by the way. 86
21,
wins.
yes.
21.
86 wins.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. If you lost out, you'd be 86 and 76. 10 games over. A stat that we would have happily embraced at the beginning of the year. However, they are not going to lose out. And that will not be their final win total. But here's something wild. We get to September, and one of the things we talked about was the travel advantage for the Padres, because the furthest they would travel in the month of September was to Seattle, right? Otherwise, going to San Francisco, going to Los Angeles, going to Arizona to wrap up the year.
Look at how, yes, they're facing tough teams with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, but think about it. If they had to fly to the East Coast next week, that would suck.
Absolutely. Because the Padres are the most traveled team in Major League Baseball this year.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, the number is skewed by the trip to Korea
Yes.
by a good 10,000 miles.
So it's a lot, kind of far to get there.
Yeah, but they were the number one team in travel miles last year as well. And the Padres this year travel over 51,000 miles
I hope you get points for that.
to make their 162 games, their 81 away games. They are traveling 51,690, but over 51,000 miles. That's wild. That's a lot of miles. But that's for a professional Major League Baseball team where the minimum salary is $750,000 over the course of 6 months, and really 6.5 months for the Padres this year, to accrue 51,000 travel miles. And that is your context for your latest, now Chapter 95 of College Sports Blows Craig and Annie's Mind.
Wait, do you think that the Stanford women's volleyball team gets the same type of plane as the Padres
No.
and the perks that the Padres get on the plane?
They're flying
Probably
commercial.
not flying charter.
They're flying commercial.
And the hotels, the 4 or 5 star hotels.
Best Western, more
Okay.
Best Western class, more.
Stanford volleyball is probably staying in nice hotels.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, are they staying at 4-star hotels?
Are they staying at
USD stays at
Ritz-Carltons?
USD stays a lot of nice hotels.
Do they really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, well, let's say they stay at nice hotels.
Fine.
Let's
We'll give 'em that.
stipulate.
We'll
Give them the
that,
hotel,
yeah.
but they don't get the penthouse in the nice hotel.
No,
right? They don't get the
suites.
suites.
No.
They're
And
still nice hotels.
they're going through TSA. They're going
100%.
through baggage. They're picking up their bags of volleyballs off of baggage claim
That's
along with
rough.
all their team gear.
Delays,
All the
plane
delays. And as Braden hits play on this graphic, Stanford women's volleyball in the ACC, because they had to follow the Cardinal football team to the ACC. Well, they're off to a great start, Annie. They're 7-0 this year, Stanford women's volleyball. Outstanding work.
Usually one of the best teams in the country.
It's usually
Great
one of the
start.
top programs in the country. But they may get a little gassed by the end of the year
The flight to Miami,
Oh my God.
brutal.
as Stanford's women's volleyball team, more than any other fall sports program in the entirety of college athletics.
You just see this plane on this graphic whizzing all the way across the country, whizzing back, then all the way across the country, or at least almost,
Yeah.
whizzing back.
They throw a bus in there too for their drives down to Pepperdine and UCSB.
It's either midway across the country or all the way. So, but still, that's
Bus
a lot.
drive to Cal,
Yeah.
back. Let's fly to Miami.
The one to Miami, wow.
Up
yeah.
to Florida State, back to Stanford, out to Duke, puddle jumper to Georgia Tech, or and back home.
33,700 miles.
They play Milwaukee, and then they play UCSB, Pepperdine, and then Nebraska, back, Notre Dame, back, Louisville,
Whose dumb
back.
idea was this?
People that are collecting
Their
a ton of money right now.
athletic- yeah, their
SMU
athletic
to
department.
Pitt, back. Bus drive to Cal, back. And then what we talked about earlier, the flight to Miami is just the most absurd one.
And back.
It's a great graphic.
That's
And
including-
back
that's
to
including-
to North Carolina.
That's including UCLA, who started the season in Hawaii and has to play at Rutgers and is playing. They played in Vegas. They got to play they're all over the place.
This is a product then of the new,
Correct.
what's it called?
Realignment.
Realignment. Thank you.
It's because they are now in the Atlantic Coast Conference, because Stanford, which exists in Palo Alto, California, on the Pacific Coast, where you can see the Pacific Ocean,
I love the beach.
they will play in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Nothing.
Makes no sense. Should college just all be regionalized?
Yes.
I think it should. I think it's kind of maybe save like a few games a year or something. But
That's what
for
it
the
used to
most
be.
part, I think it should all be regionalized.
That's what it used to be.
That's what How
How
you've
long
tripped
ago?
onto something here, Annie. It's the concept of conferences.
Oh, that's right.
Conferences were regional groups of universities that would band together to play one another.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, conferences. But then conferences became super conferences. And it went from, hey, you know what? Maybe our women's volleyball team and our women's field hockey team and our men's lacrosse team shouldn't fly 35,000 miles across the country. Maybe, just maybe, we should stay local and keep our expenses low. Now, instead, it's, hey, we've got in the Atlantic Coast Conference games in the Eastern time zone, the Central time zone, the Mountain time
by the
zone,
way,
and the Pacific.
These are students. They're still in class.
Yes.
especially the other sports.
Bingo.
For sure.
Yeah.
Women's volleyball players at Stanford receive scholarships. Yes. Do they receive billions or millions of NIL money? Not the same. I'm sure they get a little. Not the same.
Not getting enough.
Not the same.
Not that much.
No, but they are flying 33,800 miles for a 29-game schedule. A 29-game schedule. Not over 6 months, 162 games, and you fly 51,000. This schedule started August 30th, and it goes all the way to November 30th.
Oh, gosh.
So from August to November, Stanford's women, you'll probably find them on a flight. If you're an international traveler, you'll probably have them on your flight at some point if you're going into or out of the Bay Area, as they continue to just fly hither and yon and everywhere. 33,800 miles in 3 months for 29 games.
It's good that they're young. It's good that they're young and they're in their best shape of their lives. And they're
Well, but we talked about the student thing for a half a sec. They're going to Stanford.
they're going to
That's not
Stanford, right.
like I could disrespect Arizona because I went there. It's not like they're getting like the classes at the University of Arizona. They're at Stanford. The girls that play Stanford volleyball are trying to be doctors and lawyers. I don't know how they're doing most of the stuff on the road. They have to learn all this stuff on the road.
Yeah, it'll be a great story if they're able to keep up the success. And then you write about, how mentally tough a team like that is to be able to do what they're doing. But yeah, I think that's asking a lot of students. I know that student athletes, right? Yes, the whole thing about not going to class. I don't think that's the case necessarily
Not
with
at Stanford.
with these
Even
guys,
their
right?
football team at Stanford, they have to recruit a special type of player to go to that school. And one of the kids that we coached a couple years ago at Cathedral loved the academics at Stanford, but it was so hard trying to play, and he's like, I wasn't going to do that flying across country. So you know where he went? Transferred to Tennessee.
There you go.
Got a lot better of a deal at Tennessee compared to Stanford.
It's just wild. And these are the knock-on effects. And that's the point of this segment, okay, is knock-on effects. Because every time you hear these stories, and Braden gives us one or two of them, it feels like every week, at least every couple of weeks, of all the changes to college athletics. College athletics aren't anything like they were 5 years ago.
And they won't be anything like they are now in 5 years from now.
Yes.
Because who knows where it all ends up.
I think
So true.
eventually, I would not be surprised when they finally do that split between football and everything else, that all of these schools start going back to their original conferences. And it's
Yes.
like, all right, let's
Let's
football is taken care of. We're making a ton of money on that.
Kick it
Let's
down
make
a
sure all
notch.
of our other sports are just simple so we could save some money in the long run. It's not going to be because they care about the student athletes. It's going to be because, like, well, this could save us a lot of money if we just play, I don't know, the school down the street.
Right. I mean, because let's be super clear. At the end of the day, Stanford's women's volleyball is not contributing to Stanford's bottom line.
No.
Not in any significant way. The most likely scenario is they are losing money on every program that's not football. And maybe basketball. Maybe women's, because they've got a great women's program, women's basketball program at Stanford. But like outside of those three programs, every college athletic program loses money for the university. So you're going to get to this spot where you've chased the cash to get to the ACC, and then you are just wearing out your student athletes, flying them. Yeah, the football team gets what the football team gets. The women's volleyball team is spending the whole year in the airport. You know, they're spending their whole first half of the school year in the airport the entire time.
Football team only has to do it 6 times.
Right.
They
On
only
a
have to do it
chartered
6
flight.
times.
Right.
On a chartered flight.
And it's not like they do it once every couple days. It's once a week that they have to do it, and they're in that city for less than 24 hours, and then they're home.
It's crazy.
Where the volleyball team doesn't get the chartered flight, and they got to stay an extra night, and then they got to bus to a different place. And that's like when I had a friend that played baseball in Hawaii. He stopped doing it because it was impossible. Because for 2 weeks, they would do road trips for 2 weeks. They would just be driving around California, just like hanging out for 2 weeks before they went home for 2 weeks, and then back on the road for 2 weeks. It's a grueling task, and that's why, I mean, you know, Hawaii is not very good in a lot of sports, and that's a big contributing factor. How do you get kids to sign up for that?
Ow. You got me, man. This whole thing.
Shout out Greg Garcia.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he
I
was
don't know.
able to do that.
He played in Hawaii. That's a good
Yeah, he
question,
did.
though.
He played in
because-
Hawaii. It's like, how are you able to do that?
Right.
Because my buddy had a hard time with the academic part of just being on the road, not working with your teacher. That was pre-Zoom, and right, Greg Garcia, this is pre-Zoom,
Yep.
and like
Yeah.
jumping on online classes. I mean, how do you pull that off? It's hard.
The unintended consequences of super conferences and realignment spelled out in the Stanford women's volleyball team. 33,800 miles to play a 3-month college volleyball schedule. Just what are we doing here? What are we trying to accomplish?
NCAA, what are we doing?
What are we trying to accomplish? Is anyone even paying attention to this? There's some Stanford assistant SID is just losing their mind. And it probably has been screaming in the hallways for months. Like, do you understand what's going on with our program? And meanwhile, they're putting up ACC signs, you know, inside the athletic department and like, you know, reconfiguring stuff.
Where's the meme of Woody Harrelson in Zombieland just crying, wiping away his tears with all the $100 bills in his hands?
Right.
That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna be like, yeah, well, it's a shame.
Did you see the money we
You
got?
see how much money we have?
No kidding.
Nothing strikes me as the Atlantic coast, more like Berkeley and Palo Alto.
Quick transition to Petco
Dallas.
Park tonight and to this evening's game. Michael King is going against Hunter Brown. And these are two of the hottest pitchers in Major League Baseball in the second half of the season. You probably knew about Michael King because you're a Padres fan, because you're listening to the Padres flagship station. So you know that since May 1st, Michael King has been one of the best starters in all of Major League Baseball. What you might not know is that Hunter Brown, who was a rookie last year, 26-year-old, 6'2", 220, big dude, big hoss out there on the mound, he has been one of the best pitchers in the American League in the second half of the year. So just like we saw in the second game of the Mariners series against Brian Wu, where it's like, okay, you may not know the guy, but look at the numbers and respect it. And then, of course, we saw what he did. He threw 6 perfect innings against us. I'm not saying Hunter Brown will throw 6 perfect innings. He just had a rough start his last time out. But in the second half of the season, Annie, Hunter Brown is pitching to a 2.26 ERA in 10 starts, over 59 and 2/3 innings.
It's a guy that's different from who he was last year. So last year he had a 5.09 ERA. This year it's down, like Craig said, 3.59. He shaved his home run rate from 1.5 per 9 innings last year to 1 this year. He is at a career high 158 innings and counting, so you don't know if maybe there is any fatigue setting in. Now, the Padres got to him last year, 6 runs in 4 2/3 innings, including a home run from Xander Bogaerts. However, he seems like he's bettered himself from last year to this year.
Oh, the big key is the home runs. As a matter of fact, in the second half, he's allowed 3 homers. In the first half, he allowed 14. So he's really kept the ball in the ballpark. He's dropped his whip. He's kept his strikeouts the same as about 9.5 per 9 innings. This is a power pitcher. He's going to throw top of the zone in the mid to upper 90s, and he's got a big hammer curveball that he's going to try and tunnel off of that fastball at the top of the zone. So the pitch looks the same halfway there. One of them stays in the top of the zone. One of them drops all the way to the bottom of the zone.
And I think also interesting to watch with these Astros hitters. I mean, they were kept pretty quiet last night. They're going to try to be breaking out, obviously, and getting some runs across the board. So you're looking for Michael King to continue doing what Michael King has been doing. He's been excellent.
He really has. And, you know, this is the other thing I was thinking about, because we talked about how pitchers now maybe feel more strong in the middle of the year than they do at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
When you think about this Padres starting staff, I mean, Yu Darvish had first a break of almost a month and then a break of 2+ months. Joe Musgrove had a break of 2+ months. Michael King didn't have that, but they've tailored him multiple times where he started once in a week, once in a 10-day period. They really worked hard to limit his overall exposure and his overall innings. And the guys that they didn't do that with, Matt Waldron has worn down, you know, and wound up not being a part of the picture right now. Vasquez, not a part of the picture right now. So it's very interesting, like, to get to an October pitching staff. Really, the only guy who hasn't had a break this year is Dylan Cease.
And maybe that should be something to consider when we look at some of his numbers and maybe some of the stretches he's had. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. If you've got a workhorse out there, which he is, Dylan Cease definitely is, you might hit some more patches because there's just more opportunity to hit maybe some more ups and downs, right? He's on the board more. He's just out there. He's posting more. So the arm is getting used more. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind as we look at Dylan Cease. And yeah, I mean, you know, I think about Seth Lugo last year, and one of the best things to happen to him was that comebacker. Or it wasn't a comebacker. I forget. It was PFPs. He hurt his calf somehow.
Yeah.
And he missed a little time, but that ends, you know, who knows? If he wouldn't have had that, maybe he still would have been able to dominate the whole season. But it did give him a little breather. And even Michael King said that recently. The comebacker for him gave him a little breather and probably ended up being a good thing instead of a bad thing.
And a reminder, in addition to Padres TV, tonight's game is on True TV. So bad news for the Impractical Jokers.
It's on both, right?
I think it's on both.
I think it's on both. Yeah, it's a dual broadcast.
Is Don doing the TBS one or the True TV one?
I would guess yes.
Or is he doing the?
What if he just jumps from like one booth to the other? That'd be
Just
kind of
goes
hard
back
to
and forth.
do.
What if it's the same broadcast just on a different?
What if they just cut the
Simulcast it?
Yeah,
They could totally do
use
that.
him on. They use the same shot of him, and then just put the other person different.
Then he thinks he's making fun of Mudley, but instead he's making fun of the other guy.
Right.
Isn't it usually-
It doesn't really work. You can't really do it in execution, but in my head it worked for a second.
See, what's that guy's name? Who's the guy that went to the Dodger that went to Patrick Henry? That's usually on those broadcasts. What's that guy's name?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking
Dodger
about.
that went to.
He's a
Patrick
San Diego
Henry.
guy, but he's a Dodger. He's usually on those broadcasts. I forget his name.
not Eric Karros.
Yeah, Eric Karros.
Eric Karros.
Isn't he usually on those games?
I think so. I don't care. I'll be watching Padres TV with presumably Don and Mud.
I tend to go back and forth these days.
Yeah. Or Jesse and Mud. I don't know.
I'll switch back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. When we come back, one last segment of Annie and Elsten before we turn things over to Gwynn and Scraby today. Remember, Chris is on a cruise. He's on a boat. Won't see him till the playoffs. Slow boat to nowhere.
Oh yeah, it's Don and Tony too on the
There you
TV
go.
today. Yeah.
Don and Tony.
I only mean I switch because you get out of your car, you leave,
Yeah,
you have to move back and forth between
Of course.
broadcasts.
Of course. Or if you're in the press box, you don't watch anything. You watch
Right,
the game
you
right
just
in
watch
front
the
of you.
game.
That's right.
Right. Mhm.
Literally the game. It's right there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming back with Ask Us Anything. This is our end of the show call-in segment. Give us a ring. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. You have 9 minutes to call the show. If you call the show in the next 9 minutes, we'll put you on the air. All that we ask from you is that you come prepared with a question to ask the show. Ask Us Anything right after this on The Fan. Because
Uh-oh.
see what happens, gang, is we record a promo during the break. And when we do, we take the computer out of program so that you don't hear us recording the promo. And then sometimes when we get back from break, that button just isn't re-clicked. And so you miss something. However,
There's a lot of buttons back there.
yeah. So, sorry, chat. Sorry, chat.
I just got a text from my mom.
Does she have the answer?
No, it just says, no bail for P. Diddy.
No bail for P. Diddy.
That's all my mom sent me.
Oh, my God. Seeing as we can't take calls, I almost put this in the sports fix that Lakers fans all freaked out yesterday because their point guard D'Angelo Russell put up a tweet of just like the sad eyes person, you know, the person with like the holding back tears emoji.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I use that emoji.
And that's the only thing that was on the tweet.
It's like sad, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so all these people are like, no, D'Angelo, don't tell us you got traded. We need you. Don't be traded. Don't be gone. And then it was later, he was upset about Diddy.
Oh.
He was sad about Diddy's
Oh.
bail or whatever. I don't even know what's going on with
I don't
that.
really either. I mean, I know a little, but I don't know. I'm not up to date.
Yeah. But I just think that's funny that everyone
yeah.
interprets Instagram posts and tweets now. And
Oh,
so they're
like-
like, oh, you're getting traded. No, he's sad about something that's happening with P. Diddy. Like,
We read into everything.
Yeah.
Everything is fodder for speculation these days. Yes.
so again, the question that is being posed, do you have a winner over there, Braid? Yeah, we have a winner. So you can stop calling now. 833-288-0973. Because Luis Arraez is on a brand new no strikeout streak.
Yeah, that was a little tricky one a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
2. It's now 2.
It's his new no strikeout streak.
New no strikeout streak. 2. 2 consecutive.
Because you know what? He had the strikeout, and then Luis Arraez, being who he is, said, whatever, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to hit some balls. And that's what he did for his next 2 at-bats.
There you go. And then he was hurt.
And then he was hurt.
Then he had to be
Yeah.
out. But he might be better. We'll find out. We invite you to stay tuned to the reconfigured Gwen and Matt, as opposed to Gwen and Chris. Gwen and Matt. Doesn't sound as good.
Gwen and
Scrabes?
Gwen and Matt.
Gwen and Matt. Yes, sorry, Chad. Very sorry. You missed the trivia question because you were muted. The chat, if you're out there in the radio, the chat is just in revolt right now. We have pitchforks. We have tiki torches.
Sorry, guys.
I apologize.
See how you got to learn about life, you know? Life's not fair.
And here's the fun thing.
Winner is Jim.
Hey,
but,
Jim.
but not the Jim from yesterday, a different Jim.
Different Jim?
Different Jim.
Kind of sus on that.
It's a different Jim. Do you want me to give out his personal information
No,
compared to the
don't
other
dox
ones?
him. Don't dox him.
Andy told me to
Don't
give
dox
out this
him.
guy's personal information to make sure it's not the same guy.
It's not
I
the
said
same
out loud?
guy. Not the same guy.
It's a little sus.
Andros is
sus.
just so mad at us right now in the chat. It's
Maybe
just,
we'll get another set of tickets
yeah.
for later in the week.
Normally YouTube's ahead of FM radio, so
It
normally
is.
you guys have an advantage. This
Well,
one time you had a
If you don't want to come in
Probably
last,
is not East County.
if you don't want to come in last,
We'll never
Andres,
admit
maybe you
that.
don't have the last name last. Rough. That's a tough ball game, dude. You
Well-
should change your last name to first.
Charisma says YouTube is ahead.
YouTube
Yeah,
is always
YouTube
ahead.
is always ahead. Yeah, it's always a little bit ahead. All right, so tonight, looking forward to seeing what Michael King has to store. And here's the pitching matchups for all the other games that you're going to care about. Dodgers and Marlins are at 3:40. Bobby Miller against somebody named McCann. Don't know. Mets host the Nationals at 4:10. McGill against Parker. We are worried about the Diamondbacks of the Rockies. Jordan Montgomery's back in the starting rotation against good old Ryan Feltner. And those are the games we care about today. Go Marlins. Go Nats. Go Rockies. Go Padres. For Annie and Braden, I'm Craig. See ya.
Bye.